Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the main event. I think it's main event is what comes next. My camera's too high. I gotta lower it.
It's a little high, but it's okay.
I can fix it. Maybe not now.
See you later.
Fun.
What's up, beautiful people?
Welcome,
We
guys.
are here at Profit and Paradox. Today, we are talking about TikTok, the TikTok ban. And we have a lot on that, on the sense of like what that means for business, what that means for America. We're going to lead that into a little bit of China. We're going to talk a bit about the inauguration and Trump executive orders. This was the most amount of executive orders ever signed on the first day, right? So super interesting stuff in here. I've got like a video of all of them, right? But
I
yeah,
heard you were going to refer to him as Daddy Trump for the remainder of his stay in office.
He's your daddy, not my daddy.
Can he be our daddy? If he's not both of our daddies, that means we're not brothers.
Just like how you said Joe Biden was not your president, this is not my daddy. Okay?
Brothers got a hug.
What?
Shout out to anybody who caught the reference. In any case, yeah, it's going to be a fun day. We were talking a little bit offline. We were debating about the stuff that we're not going to talk about on a podcast because people be in their feelings. And we just try to be respectful as much as possible. But it's going to be a good conversation today, guys. Really, really interested in having just walking through it, right? It's been a busy week. I mean, we got Trump back in office. To your point, Jonah, a lot of executive orders. TikTok went down for like 12 hours, which was a very, very traumatic experience for some, I'm sure. So we got to talk about that. And then, of course, there's the whole China issue, right? What's going on with China? Is China really a threat? Is China a bigger threat than we're paying attention? Jamarco has his opinions on that. So we'll bring that up. But guys, if you have any opinions on what's happened in the last 7 days, feel free to share your thoughts. If you are depressed about China or TikTok or Donald Trump, if you're excited about any of those things, share your thoughts. What are you thinking? Where do you want to start? You want to start with Poppy Trump? Do you want to start with
TikTok? I think we should start with TikTok because I'm a little bit more well versed on that, right? So I just want to explain it to the people that aren't paying attention to the TikTok, what's happening with TikTok, right? And just be like, whoa, why did my shit get banned, right? So back in, I believe it was 2020. It was like, right? It was either 2019 or 2020. There was actually a law passed by Congress, right? That was basically like somebody has to buy this thing in the next 3 to 4 years, or we're banning it, right? Because I don't know if you guys know this. When we don't read the terms of service on most stuff. The terms of service on TikTok, like we should actually watch this. We should watch the Joe Rogan going through the TikTok terms of service. I'm gonna look that up right now. They can not only do they have access to all of your information on your phone, right? They can access any device that you have, basically, right? So I'm going to bring this up real quick just because I think this will give like context of why this law was passed. And like, I'm not even against it. Like, honestly, like I don't even use TikTok and I get the business part of it, but like there are actually very serious implications. So tell me if you can hear this. Hold on. Did I do that right?
I don't think you did.
I didn't. Okay, hold on. Because this is what really blew my mind, right? And like this was a while ago when he did this, but like it made it where I was like, wow, okay, this is this is literally just like literally a Chinese government app on all of our phones.
TikTok's terms of service. I went down a TikTok rabbit hole yesterday.
Yeah, it's good.
I stayed home, smoked a little weed, and I started reading up on TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to read you this because this is so crazy.
Is it good or bad?
Bad.
So what are you saying? It's a bad place to be?
Listen to this. This is from TikTok's privacy policy.
All right.
It said, we collect certain information about the device you use to access the platform, such as your IP address, user region. This is really crazy. user agent, mobile carrier, time zone settings, identifiers for advertising purpose, model of your device, the device system, network type, device IDs, your screen resolution and operating system, app and file names and types. So all your apps and all your file names, all the things you have filed away on your phone,
Really?
they have access to that. File names and types, keystroke patterns or rhythms. So they're monitoring your keystrokes, which means they know every fucking thing you type.
Wow.
Battery state, audio settings, and connected audio devices where you log in from multiple devices. We will be able to use your profile information to identify your activity across devices. We may also associate you with information collected from devices other than those you use to log into the platform, meaning they can use other computers that you're not even using to log into TikTok. They can suck the data off that. That's what you're agreeing to when you download and start using TikTok. That's wild.
It's insane. My question would be, do you think they did that? They created TikTok just on purpose to have all that?
100%.
Wow.
I think they saw that people are addicted to social media, and they came up with the most addictive version of social media, which is TikTok. It's the most addictive by far. It's the best for sucking people in. My kids are fucking hook, line, and sinkered on that shit. And I know a lot of other people are hook, line, and sinkered to grown people.
It's good.
It's good. And it starts playing things immediately. The moment you turn it on, it's like playing you a new thing, playing you thing. You're like, and you just sucked into it.
Okay, anyways, that's the idea, right? I really want to do the privacy terms, right? So this is like, it's a problem. And I actually agree with it. Like, I agreed. Trump was actually much more anti-TikTok in his first term. This time he sounds more pro-TikTok. I'm pretty anti-TikTok, like in the sense of like, I use it for my business, but like what the access that China has to everything, right, is pretty goddamn insane. So this is like, this prompted it, right? And I just wanted you guys to know to the level that not only TikTok has to your devices, but also China, right? Because China can do whatever it wants with any company that's in China, right? It's a dictatorial government, right? So they can do whatever they want, right? You can check me if that's the right pronunciation.
I think you're good this time.
So, right? So basically there was a law passed that I actually agree with the law, which is like, we're either going to shut down TikTok or somebody in America has to buy it so we know China isn't spying with us. There have been several offers to TikTok over this 3-4 year period, but they haven't responded to any of them, right? Kevin O'Leary gave an offer. Very famously, recently, Mr. Beast just gave an offer, but they're not responding, right? And in my opinion, what's happening based on like what I've seen is that China's not letting them sell, which is the scariest part. China actually is, I am very sure, using TikTok to spy on us. Like, this is my most like conspiratorial, but not really that conspiratorial take. It's like, I'm pretty damn sure China is using TikTok as a weapon, right? To be able to actually spy on us, understand American movements and understand American minds, right? And possibly even using it to give us like possibly misinformation, possibly disinformation. I don't know. But like, I think it's highly likely the Chinese government is trying to influence our opinions via TikTok, right? And it would make 100% sense.
Trying to influence our opinions.
Like, Yuki Hano, with your conservative, loving, conspiratorial self, is just getting TikToks of Jewish space lasers, right? Let's just say, right? Just constant Jewish space lasers attempting you to believe in Jewish space lasers, right? Let's just say.
Wait, hold on. Let me understand. Hold on. I want to keep up with the conspiracy. So, according to your accusation, currently believe in Jewish space lasers.
No. You're not getting it. You're not getting it.
Help me understand.
Listen to me. You don't believe in Jewish space lasers. You believe in, I don't know, Chinese space lasers, whichever space lasers you believe in, right? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to make fun of you while doing this, right?
I understand.
But now we're going to move you one step further. China's attempting to move you to Jewish space laser territory, right? Okay. That's China's attempt. Now, what China's showing me on TikTok is, just like straight CNN whatever, right? Straight normal news, like, or maybe like Trump saying something crazy, or like, you know, Elon Musk Sig Heiling, right? Which we also could talk about, how he did a Sig Heil, or what is, a Nazi salute. I'm forgetting the name of it. Sig Heil? Yeah, something like that, right? That's what they're showing me, right? So then they're influencing me more to the left, right? And they're trying to influence you more to the right, right? Thereby creating division in America and making it where we start tearing ourselves from within. Because America we're the biggest and baddest country in the world, baby. Nobody can fuck with us on the outside. But if they're able to get in on the inside and destroy us for making us hate each other, that's how they can take over the world, right? And that's some good Sun Tzu Art of War shit right there. And so that is my conspiracy theory that's not really even that conspiratorial with China and TikTok, right? And how they're utilizing this app in order to spread disinformation, spread misinformation on both sides in order to get us to start believing crazy shit, right? And then that is making it where then that's just helping destroy our nation, right? At the same time while spying on us. So this is my belief. I don't know what you think of that, but I think it's pretty solid.
Look, here's what I'm gonna say. First of all,
you think
Jonah,
I'm crazy?
No. I want to say I appreciate you.
You at least like that I have a conspiracy theory?
No. Just like first and foremost, I'm proud of you, bro. I'm proud of you for thinking that the possibility of the world not being exactly the way TV tells you it is possible. I appreciate that. Welcome to the dark side, if you will.
Sure. This is really funny.
I will say is there are some coaching opportunities here, right? Your conspiratorial right, outlook could use some work. I mean, we gotta.
All right, let's work on it then. What am I missing? What am I missing? I thought I had it. You know, I thought I got it.
Yeah, you were on a good
path.
Had
logical follow through. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It was like that meme where it's like, you had us in the first half. I ain't gonna lie, right? Like, and then you went left a little bit.
Okay, where do you agree? Where do you disagree?
Okay. Do I think it's possible that China has nefarious intent towards the United States? Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's likely, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I'm not a huge pro on China to begin with, but China itself has put out propaganda to their own country, mocking the United States and mocking the fact that they are actively manipulating the United States. So this isn't an attack on China. This is just me reiterating the things that they've said about us. Basically, they called us a bunch of idiots, and they're flexing on the fact that we keep falling for their stuff, right? So I don't think that this is naive to believe.
Sure.
I don't think that, but that I think that, and I mean this respectfully, I think far left people and far right people have this agenda or this idea that politics actually matters more than it really does. I think the majority, and I've said this before, of what we see about politics is kind of bullshit in the first place. It doesn't really work the way we're told it works. I don't think it does. I think it works much differently than we're told it works. And if that's true, then the idea that China has this motivation to make liberals more liberal and conservatives more conservative just seems a little bit of empty as a strategy is concerned. They don't really get anything by doing that. I think they get much more.
You don't think so?
No, not at all. Liberals are going to be liberal. Far right people are going to be far right. Division.
You don't think, like, for instance, you don't think politics has been more divisive than it's ever been, right? And you don't think
I think it's the American government that's doing that, not the Chinese government.
You don't think the social media has anything to do with that?
Which was being manipulated by the Democratic Party, as admitted by the head of social media companies. Twitter.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Twitter is owned by literally Elon Musk, who is in a cabinet position in the Trump administration. So, yeah, some of them are liberal, and also some of them are conservative. So, hold on.
I need you to let you're a very smart guy. I need you to let that intelligence work in this conversation. Before it was owned by Elon Musk, it was owned by a bunch of liberal people.
Sure, but now it's owned by Elon Musk.
The reason Elon Musk bought it was because the federal government was manipulating Twitter to sow division in the United States. They were also doing that with Meta, which includes Facebook, Instagram, you know what they own. Zuckerberg has come forward and said, that the Democratic-run federal government was manipulating them and bullying them into spreading lies, spreading division, and spreading misinformation. The head of social media companies, bro, unfortunately have already admitted this. Elon bought it to stop that. Elon bought it to be the first guy to expose that it was happening. Because when it was happening, people on your side of the aisle were like, that's not true. Why would Democrats want to lie to the people and now we know it's true. So respectfully, I don't care about left, right. People can believe what they want, but it is very, very well established. We don't need China to sow division in our country when our government's been doing a fantastic job of doing that for a very, very long time. And it has been all but exposed very, very clearly which side of the aisle was behind the majority of that division.
I mean, I agree with some of what you're saying. I definitely think the government definitely influenced some of the social media companies, but I mean, I don't know, dude. Twitter's owned by Elon Musk now, bro. Like, what do you think? Well, wait, let me ask you this. Do you think Twitter now, do you think that it's just like a free speech utopia, or do you think it leans more right?
I think that Twitter now is probably, to be clear, I don't use X that much.
I don't really use
it. We're streaming on it right now, to be clear. Shout out to all the people who are watching on X. So we're streaming on X, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that X is as manipulated or controlled or left-leaning than it used to be. I think it's probably, if you had to give it, it's probably more neutral, maybe more wild, wild west than it used to be. But in fairness, I'm not probably the most qualified to speak on this because I didn't use it that much during that period.
Okay. I've seen a lot of things where basically like Elon Musk boosts his own tweets. So like everyone sees his tweets way more and he's insanely conservative. I don't really want to get into that argument that much into right now with social media in general. I guess that I would say is like why even the American government doing it, you see that it's a problem, right? That it creates division, right? The fact that social media, even that social media even leans a single way, right? Because even if 100%. It was right. So I mean, the point is that China is also doing the exact same thing, right?
I don't think so. I think that's the motivation. I think, and now we're speculating, right?
Well, okay, so we watched the whole thing with Joe Rogan, right? With the privacy thing, right? Where they're literally tracking everything. What do you think is the motivation for
data? I think data matters. I think data is the most powerful thing. Why is TikTok a billion trillion dollar company, right? And I don't know their net worth. I know what's up there.
But because willing to go into a different computer.
No. But no, here's the thing. It's data. What do I mean? The ability to get as much information as you can about people is powerful because knowing that helps you to strategize and plan moving forward. I think that if I had to guess, and I do not know this, I'm not qualified in any way about China's political aspirations, but if I had to guess, I would say China is far more focused on their global domination than anything else, and understanding everything they need to know about the United States to be able to cripple us financially is far more important than dividing us politically. Because again, we're already doing a good enough job of doing that on our own. Have you ever seen those videos where they were able to take the Wi-Fi IP address and based on the Wi-Fi IP address, they were able to read the signals in the house and they could come up with a map of who was standing where in real time?
I've never seen that before.
It's freaking crazy. Joe Mark, I don't know if you've seen that, if you know what I'm talking about, but there was some device. I don't know the details on this, but they were able to take the IP address of the router. They were able to take the frequencies that are happening in the house, and they're able to basically build infrared layouts of your house. So literally, if someone was trying to breach your house right now, they could look at this thing and they could see exactly where you were sitting.
You think TikTok's doing that?
I think that when you get access to as much information as Joe Rogan just said they have access to, I think that stuff is far more valuable than the implications that you're espousing.
I guess. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like, China's never going to be able to militarily invade the U.S. They know that, right? Like, if I'm China, like, right? No, they just won't. Like, trust. We could get into this. I just know so much about militaries, and they know it too. America crossing the Pacific Ocean to invade America, and then being able to actually conquer all of the continental United States is literally an impossible task. Like, it is.
Well, let's talk about this.
Armed population, right? I've watched like several YouTube videos at this point where I'm just so convinced it would be impossible to militarily conquer the US, right? It's just not a feasible military operation. We are the strongest military on earth, mixed with being an ocean away and having the most industrial productivity of almost any nation. It's just not, there's no way, right? What China's trying to do is they're trying to erode our influence around the world, right? They're trying to erode our influence, and at the same time, they're trying to sow division in our populace, in my opinion, right? I think that having all that data, right, just so that, and I didn't let you finish your thought if there was more to it than this, of why they want all this data, but this data really, most of that data is related to like our trends on our phone, right? And some of it is related to IP addresses, but they're not going, but like, in order to break, is it like in order to break into my house, right? Like in my head, the reason why they want it very obviously is to try to influence our opinions and via TikTok. I think
that's really short-sighted. I think that's really short-sighted. Now, is it possible? Yes. I'm not saying that I think you're wrong as much as I think that would be a short.
I hate how you don't agree with my conspiracy. Like, fuck you, bro. I finally have a conspiracy. You don't agree with it. You know how shitty that is?
That's not right. Let me fix this, bro.
It's like now you're telling me that I'm wrong about China or some bullshit. Like, fuck you, Keanu. I have one conspiracy and you got to shut me down and be like, oh, actually, it's some other fucking conspiracy. It's like, you know what?
Jonah, I want you to know, bro. I'm going to say it right here. I apologize to you, Jonah. I'm being a shitty friend. You're right. I'm going to support your conspiracy. This is your first one. I'm going to support you. I would be a horrible friend if I didn't. So I apologize to you, bro.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to support my conspiracy. Okay, but so explain to me a little bit more. What do you think is the point of that data so that they could eventually invade? What's their end game with collecting all of this data? You know,
let's talk.
Go more into that.
Jamarco, you ready, Pumpkin? Let's bring you up. Let's let him talk about this because I have something I want to talk about as it relates to the land, right? Because I think this is bigger than just TikTok. But
you have to come up here. You've been calling me. You're like, wow, your mind imploded or something. You said. So where am I wrong?
So I believe you have a very valuable point. That the senator from Arkansas.
That's not what you were saying in the comments, bro. You're saying you're imploding in the goddamn comments.
I'm trying to be polite. Okay, so the senator of Arkansas agrees with you. So you have a very valid point. However, I think you're wrong. Meaning, so the data. So China wants to have an understanding of what the Americans want. And the collection of the data, Trump made an executive order at the end of his administration in 2019, saying that they had to sell or move the servers to America, which I sent the screen. The servers were moved to Texas, and they're owned by Oracle, right? Now China has the algorithm, but TikTok is from Singapore, right? So Singapore and China, like England, United States, is not the same thing. They had wars, right? So when we had the CEO of TikTok going to court, and the senator of Arkansas, or one of those, was saying, "Hey, you are working for the Chinese Communist Party." The guy saying, "No, I went into the military for Singapore. We fight the Chinese. I just am in business with them." So I believe that is incorrect for that reason. I think the CEO has to give some data, and I shared a video in our chat where you can see even Trump talking about it. I think we have way more serious problems than sharing the data of kids to the Chinese, right? Why? The point that this has is this. Facebook sells our data. Instagram sells our data. So if the Chinese want our data, they can buy it. And they're always being able to buy it, even before TikTok. Now we're giving it directly to the Chinese, and they can sell it too, which is the government of the United States is not too happy about it. But they could always buy it. The Germans can buy it, right? Any app you download.
I don't think it's that much about the data. That's Keanu thinks it's about the data. I don't think it's about the data. I think it's about sowing divisions. But
And
anyways,
sowing division, it doesn't. Okay, so it's again, that's your opinion. This is opinion. I can't speak for the Communist Party, but what I can say is this: the Chinese for sure want to have and not want to overcome economically the United States. That is clear. I don't think they want to invade the United States, right? I don't think they want any military conflict with the United States unless we get involved with Taiwan. Why Taiwan? Because of the minerals and because of lithium and because of the batteries and because of the electric batteries, and they want to have the upper end if we're going with electric cars, because they want to be the America of the new century, right? We have this all. So that's how they want to have the upper end of the United States. They don't want to do it over TikTok. What they want to do, I think, with TikTok and what it seems to me is having a greater product than Instagram, and they've succeeded because it's a better product. The algorithm is extraordinary compared to shorts on YouTube, no offense, or reels on Instagram. Now, the problem is people say, hey, but they want to sow division left and right. No, the servers are on Oracle. Try to speak about Gaza and Israel on TikTok. The video gets canceled immediately. Try to talk about the CIA, it gets canceled immediately. Why? Because Oracle owns it. And when they decide that certain topics are not to be mentioned, you can't mention them. It's the most, is the application that has the most violation ever. You can say the word kill, they take the video. Suicide.
Wait, Gianmarco, can I ask you a question? Based on your view then, is TikTok being owned by Singapore or China or whatever? Is it even a problem then?
So ByteDance has the 20% ownership of TikTok. And as much as I'm usually not a big fan of what China does, I understand where they're coming from, right? So where are they coming from? They want to be the global order, right? Even Ray Dalio talks about it. Mm-hmm. So in the case of TikTok, will they have plans 10 years now? Sure. But as of today, they're trying to win with the best freaking algorithm. That's what they're trying to do. And
so you just think they're a capitalist company then, basically.
What is it?
You just think they're a capitalist company, basically? Like they're just a company, like trying to make money and trying to beat people.
Again, Byte does pretty good products, like CapCut for editing. It does pretty good products. The problem is it's Chinese, right? So when they decide, they can take you down at any moment ever. So that is an issue that I understand why.
But here's my question, Marco. So it sounds like, to Jonah's point, you don't have any issue with.
Yeah, it sounds like you think it's fine.
You think there's nothing nefarious about that?
I don't think TikTok is going to be the problem with China. I think TikTok could be, as Trump said, a joint venture with China. Where do you think China's threat comes from? Because you've mentioned previously your concerns about China. Do you think China is a threat to the U.S. in any way? Well, in any ways, yes. Outside of TikTok, obviously, if you want to have an upper hand on a country, you cannot invade them military. The best way to do it would be to take over either energy supply, like to build cars, or food and water. Right? Look at what Russia is trying to do in Ukraine. Like that's what you would do. You take the food chain, then that's it. Now, I believe multiple things have been sold to China during the Biden administration. Why? I'm not going to speculate, but multiple. And so we can check on how much water we sold as United States government to China, and if it makes sense. And
let's talk about it, right? Because, and Gianmarco, your audio's cutting out, bro. I don't know if you got stuff running in the background on your computer, but here's where I think, like, I don't know how big of a threat TikTok is to the United States. I don't know the answer to that. Because I think it's unfair to assume that even if China as a nation has nefarious goals against the United States, it's unfair to assume that all Chinese people or all Chinese business owners do. Now, is it a fair conclusion that Chinese government is involved with TikTok and there is some? I think that there's a pretty educated guess there, right? Like I could definitely understand people's concerns or argument. I'm not versed enough to really have a strong opinion on that. What I will tell you is what's interesting in the midst of all of this is in the last couple of years, oddly enough, TikTok has been a more reliable source of information than any other social media platform, period. Right? There was a while there where there was riots that were happening in France. You went to Google, no information on the riots in France. If you Googled riots in France, Jonah, they would not pop up. If you went to Instagram, they would not pop up. Facebook, YouTube, nothing would show that. The only places that you would see live videos of the riots in France was TikTok, which is really, really interesting because the platform that is supposedly potentially one of the most nefarious is also simultaneously one of the most valuable, unbiased sources of information. Really, really interesting. The implications of that are interesting. But what I will tell you is this. Do you know how much land China owns in the United States? How much farmland China owns in the United States? Do you know the number of like a ballpark?
I forgot. Isn't it like it's either like 1 million acres or like 10 million acres or 100,000 acres. It's like something like that. I don't remember exactly.
All over the place, like 1 million, 100,000, 10 million.
And they own a lot of fucking land. I don't remember the number.
ChatGPT says at the end of 2022, Chinese investors owned approximately 350,000 acres of farmland, accounting for less than 1% of all. Oregon, Texas, multiple states. They go into details. What's interesting is 34 days ago, the New York Post made an article that says that drones were spotted near at least 17 military bases that were next to Chinese-owned land. So not only are they strategically buying farmland, but they're also buying farmland that's strategically next to military bases. That, for me, sounds much more like a strategic military move that has much less to do with division in the United States. That sounds to me like if you're a military
bases in the U.S.
No. What I'm saying is they own land next to American military bases. The strategic advantage of that is I mean, the options grow pretty quickly, right? So I think that if there is a scenario where China sees us as an enemy and is looking to attack us, I would say that there are no, Cap, you're right. They could be doing both. And to be honest with you, they may be doing both. It's just my opinion, and call it a gut feeling. So, I mean, throw that in the garbage. You can do with that what you will.
Neither of you really given me any, like, hold on. Both of you make it seem like TikTok's fine then. Are you guys saying TikTok's okay? Like TikTok, there's no issues with TikTok whatsoever? Like,
what I'm saying is I don't know. What I'm saying is I don't know if TikTok is the most, the direct use case. I think that all of the information that they get access to is extremely concerning and definitely does open up the questions of, is there a genuine security concern here? But of all the things they could do, of all the things they could do with that information, I think that there is far more strategically powerful things they could do with that than sow division, which already exists. I just think that's just not a good use of their time, right? There's just so many other things that you can do. Like right now, you're in real estate. You probably have a team, you have acquisitions, you have cold callers. You could cold call, right? You could pull a list, and there's nothing stopping you from doing that. You have all the resources to do it, but it's just not the best use of your time. And if you only have so many hours in a day and so many resources to use, you're going to maximize that time to what's going to get you the biggest ROI. And I just don't see sowing division the biggest ROI, because I just feel like there's so much more they could do with that information. But we're speculating, right? I think the likelihood of there being nefarious possibility with that is
just say that's I would do it all. Why would I not? This isn't like we're not talking about a real estate investing business that makes just like, like $1 million a year or something. We're talking about a fucking national government that is the second biggest economy in the world. These people have resources to fucking do it all, right? Why not? If they own the algorithm. The algorithm decides what you see, right? So like literally that is literally what the algorithm does, is it decides what you see and when. That's literally the point of an algorithm. So
here's my question.
Literally how they could control it. I'm just saying, I'm just shocked that you guys don't think that's even like a concern or at all. Like, isn't that fucking concerning? I don't know. Like, yes, I don't have definitive proof China is, and it's just crazy that like, yeah, like I don't have definitive proof, but like, it concerns me enough to where like I think it should be like.
Question: why doesn't it concern you that Meta and Facebook and the FBI and the Biden administration was doing it more, and we know that, right? That you like, why is that not as much?
Okay, if you want to talk about other social media apps, what was happening from my understanding with social media apps, right? The main thing that the government told Facebook and all the other social media apps about was COVID, right? And COVID gets into a whole thing of like, okay, and like if we're going to go way off topic here, but like most of the things coming directly from the government had to do with like trying to set the narrative on COVID, right? And this gets into a really interesting conversation. And if I'm a government trying to prevent a pandemic, right? I'm going to give you a hypothetical because I want us to just get the idea first, and then we can actually go into what happened. So the hypothetical, let's say, and this isn't what I believe, this is just a hypothetical. Let's say the Black Death is spreading throughout America. It literally has a...
Why does it have to be black?
Shut up. And it's basically it has like a 75% death rate. And then a group of people, like maybe like a quarter of the percent of people, I don't know how many, are just like being like, no, you guys are idiots. We're not going to wear masks. Like, we're just going to spread this thing. Fuck all of you, right? If I was the government, what's the right solution there? Do you like let free speech happen? Or do you like be like, dude, you are going to literally kill people, right? And this gets into a really interesting conversation of like, where is the government's role in the borderlines of free speech? Because free speech, there are negatives to free speech, believe it or not. There are costs to every right? And then that gets into a whole nother thing. So that's my understanding of how the government was forcing or wanting to manipulate social media. It all had to relate to COVID specifically, right? In terms of politics, because you're talking about division, right? In America, COVID was a political thing too. But as far as I understand, when Zuckerberg was talking about that, it always had to do with COVID, just to start with the government interference. So usually when people are talking about social media, I mean, Gianmarco, if you think I'm wrong, it's okay. Like maybe I am wrong. This is how I understood it. In terms of social media, Zuckerberg and all of them just lean left. So they hired left-leaning people, so then they'd have biases leaning towards the left. But if you think I'm wrong and the government was like, we want left-leaning stuff and we're going to force you into it, show me that. Because everything I saw, like Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan, I remember watching it. Yeah. It was all COVID-related stuff.
No, it's all about the Hunter Biden laptop and how that affected the whole.
That was affected. Like, okay, they blocked, from what I remember with the Hunter Biden thing, that was like for like a day or two, and then they reinstated it, right? The bigger thing was COVID.
So
maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I understand.
I don't think he said a day or two. He said that when he decided that he was going to stop following what they said was after the election. So all the time going through the election, at the end of the election, they're banning the situation with the Hunter Biden laptop. They are. And he said that on the podcast. We can find it, right? He said we had to ban it the moment we started saying we're not going to ban this, we're not going to ban that. And also he said, I'm not going to share the calls.
Wait, was this in the follow-up to the 2020 election or the 2024?
That is 2020 election. And then he said, also,
but Donald Trump was president.
No, exactly. What he's saying though is yeah. So this is just one of the things. One of the many things that happened that was controlled by not only the government but by social media agencies was the Hunter Biden laptop, right? So the Hunter Biden laptop, that was president, right? Yeah, but it was during the election, right? So the Hunter Biden laptop, by many people's opinion, was the equivalent to Hillary Clinton's emails, right? what we kind of brushed this under the rug, but the Hillary Clinton email thing was, by many accounts, a gross infringement upon security for the United States. It was really, really bad. Right now,
wait, can I ask here's my question though that I don't understand, right? So sorry if to interrupt, but I'm just confused. Are we saying that the government influenced Facebook not to release the Hunter Biden stuff when Trump was president and running the government? Okay, I'm just curious. I just want to understand the question because that's my question right now.
So during the election with Hillary Clinton, that was an issue. That was released. And many people believe that the FBI releasing that information played a big role in Hillary losing at the last hour in that election, right? Well, the Hunter Biden laptop, many people believe, was an equivalent. And to be clear, it was very much as big of a smoking gun as the emails. The only reason it wasn't viewed as such was because there was a bunch of lies put out on social media and by the federal government pretending it wasn't as bad as it was. To be clear, it was worse than that. There were
it was also CNBC, CNN, BBC, like was a bunch of people. Like it wasn't only right.
It was not just social media. This laptop situation, legitimately, to my understanding, had proof that Joe Biden was taking payouts from Ukraine, from China, from major companies. He was taking illegal payouts. Joe Biden's son had interactions with foreign nations proving that Joe Biden was implicated in doing this. It was huge fraud. And right before the election, they were like, no, it's not real. It's not legit. They found out later it was very real. It was very legit, and it was as bad as they proclaimed. But the reason it wasn't a part of the conversation was because social media and the federal government pretended it wasn't that serious when it really was.
You understand how that? Okay, here's where this, at least that doesn't make sense to me. Is Trump was in the president? He runs the federal government. Who in the federal government?
The FBI and the mainstream media.
He chose the FBI people.
Well,
he chose that.
Jonah, for you, probably this doesn't apply because you don't see it on your side. But for the other party, for the Republicans, they've been complaining for 40 years that the FBI was against Trump. So I know, but they're saying that they were completely against Donald Trump, right?
The FBI acted on its own, basically.
What is it?
We think the FBI acted on its own without
so what you have to realize, and we
understand the claim. I'm trying to understand the claim.
So what you have to understand, bro, like Nancy Pelosi was a part of Trump's government, was she not?
No.
Trump?
No, she wasn't. He wasn't part of Trump's government. Trump literally appoints the people in the federal government.
Pelosi's goal.
Nancy Pelosi is in Congress. What?
What was Nancy Pelosi's position?
Speaker of the House.
What was
Congress
Chuck
is not
position? Jonah, bro, you're overcomplicating.
I'm losing you. Am I back?
Bro, both you and Jim Marco. We need to open up a GoFundMe to get y'all functional.
Okay, sorry.
Here's the summary, bro. I think you're trying to overcomplicate it to make it sound like the point that's clear isn't as clear as it really is. It's very, very simple in my opinion. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just making a speculation. But here, for me, it's very clear. Yes, Trump was the president at the time. But there were many elements within the government that were not on Trump's side. That is obvious. There were countless people in positions of power who were not on Trump's side. And those people were in positions to make decisions that influenced the presidential election.
You and I should do a podcast on Hunter Biden. I don't remember enough of Hunter Biden's laptop. That on its surface doesn't make any sense to me, because if it's the FBI doing something against the directive of the president, that's illegal immediately. So that would be fucking crazy. I just don't know enough about it, and I didn't do research into that. We can do a whole thing on the Hunter Biden laptop later.
To finish my thought, here's my point, bro. Like to bring this back so we're not going way too off on a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Here's my point with all of this. The point is this. The United States government has been infighting enough. There's no reason for all these other companies to have to jump in. Now, will they? Maybe, probably, but I just don't think that that's necessary. We're doing a good enough job on our own of fighting against us. And when you look at internally what happened, if it's true that what we're saying, the federal government was influencing Facebook, all of Meta, Facebook, Instagram, all of Meta, Google, YouTube, all of these things were being influenced by the federal government, not only against COVID, but also when it comes to other things that influenced the election. This is a real thing, right? And honestly, like people, I hope we're getting to the point where we can get past this emotional left versus right stuff. It doesn't serve us. Guys, the left versus right thing, it's a fairy tale that you're being told is a real thing, so that way you can have these emotionally charged conversations. It's not as big of a thing unless you make it a real thing. The reality is most of these people are on the same team. Not all of them. But that being said, I think this is the bigger problem. Now, we should probably do a whole thing about
we can
COVID.
do a whole thing on that later, but
we could do a whole thing about COVID and the way that was translated. I think that would be a really interesting conversation, because I would be really interested. Don't go into it, but just as a quick like yes or no, do you think? And I don't want to like mute you, but I really, because this will go into a long conversation. But just out of curiosity, do you think it was a wise decision for a public health standpoint for the government to come in and mute certain information? Or do you think they should have stayed out of that? Just curious of your thoughts on that personally.
I'm super fucking conflicted. I don't think COVID was bad enough in this case where it was necessary. But if like we were in my hypothetical that I gave earlier, I'd be super conflicted. My gut, my heart wants to say, you have to let all information go and be free, because if you don't, then conspiracy theories rise. People start not believing. You actually start like you do the opposite of what you want. You actually convince people of the opposite because you're trying to hide something, and people are like, "Why are you trying to hide this? Maybe it's true, right?" So I think effectively it's not. It's a really bad strategy because of that. So I think probably, if like thinking it aloud, it's a really bad thing to do. But at the same time, it like in my head, it's understandable, although not right. I get why someone might think that is a good idea, right? Should you do it? Probably not. I think it will backfire on you. But in actual situations, because what we're talking about is free speech right now, right? There are situations where we restrict free speech, right? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater if there's no fire, right? There are restrictions on free speech where you're, potentially like putting somebody at risk of something via your speech, right? And that can become illegal, right? So it's a really complicated scenario, and we can have a whole conversation about it. In the way that it was in COVID, it was definitely a bad move, right? Because it just backfired. Like everyone's just like doesn't trust the government ever.
Right? I don't know if you know this, but did you know? And I don't know, like there was an article that was put out that says that as much as 98% of the conspiracy theories surrounding COVID turned out to be true, which means that not only were they blocking information, but they were actually blocking the truth, so they could push a narrative that 3, 4, 5 years later was actually proven erroneously dangerous.
I don't know about that. I don't know about 98% of them. I heard some that like literally you take the vaccine and you grow a monkey tail, right? I don't think that one was proven true. So I don't know. Never heard that one? Well, I heard that one. Yeah. I was told that one. I literally was told that one. Like, all right, bro. But anyways,
so like just to like Cap. Go ahead, bro. Your audio is so delayed.
I was going to defend you and say he gave the example of the Hunter Biden laptop. That was his example.
Yeah,
right?
Hunter Biden laptop. COVID, we literally just spent 10 minutes talking about examples. Watch any interview about the Twitter files. Watch any interview with literally Mark Zuckerberg, who comes out and done this. It's not my job to do homework for you, bro. If you want to learn a perspective that's different than yours, do the work. Get out your feelings. Love you.
And when you look at Christopher Wray and his association with China, for instance, because he was working for a Chinese bank at one point.
Who the fuck is Christopher Wray, dude? Who's Christopher Wray?
I heard Christopher Reeves, and I was like, what does Superman do?
No, Christopher Wray was the director of the FBI until recently, right? Is the guy that everybody's complaining about.
Under who?
It's the guy that everybody's complaining about for going against Trump during this administration, right? Christopher Wray. W-R-A-Y. Just looking into
Never
it.
heard of him.
You'll see.
Okay.
We can go into details, but we don't have them now here, so we can do a different episode about that or something.
Okay,
but
so let's go back to TikTok and let's get off the sideways thing we did. So so you guys believe TikTok is not really a problem? Am I right?
I don't know how many times I said this.
You're not sure, is what you said, right?
No, what I said was that the implications of all the things they have access to, it would be naive to think that they can't use that for nefarious means. I think it's very likely they're using it for nefarious means. All I think is that I think your assumption is probably like the bottom of the barrel of what they can do for it. I just don't think they need to. I just think that that's just better.
What else could they use it for?
But Jamarco, what was your thoughts on this? Because you sounded like you didn't think TikTok was a problem.
No, it's not a problem. You can buy the data. The data is there. So, like, okay, they could have had it before.
You can't. It's harder to buy the cross devices, what I'm doing, access to my camera, right? This stuff is getting to a little bit different. To be clear, there's a website you can go to right now. I was watching this recently. There's a website you can go to. I don't know if you guys know this. It's a live website you can go to, and it literally live streams people's home security cameras, like your Ring doorbell. Bro, you can go on this website. I don't want to go there because people say that if you go there, they reverse your IP address and then just get your camera. So I haven't gone there. I don't recommend anybody goes there. But I was watching a whole video from hackers on this, and there's a freaking website that you can go and watch random fucking people sitting in their living room. It's scary, dude. It's terrifying, right? And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, really, we could do whatever we want. It's not that difficult for people to get access to your information. So on one point, yes, it's already out there. But when you have direct access and you own it, and you can look at people's phones and literally as they're sitting there on the toilet, you can look at their face and they don't know because you have direct permission to do that. That's interesting to me. What can you do with that? I don't know.
So guys, just when you have time, anybody on this podcast, just Google Pegasus, an Israeli application. You can purchase it and you can enter anybody's phone. It's that simple.
Okay. Well, all right. I think I got you guys. What?
Are you Googling Pegasus?
I was for a second. I was like kind of curious. But
do it. If you get hacked, it's not me. It's you. I would rather you get hacked.
Pegasus is which one is Pegasus? Is this the website that you're talking about?
It's called Pegasus Malware and Spyware.
Not to be confused with Project Pegasus.
I don't think it's Project Pegasus. Right? It's a spyware. So
what is it?
It's like a software. It's like a software that you can use, and you can remove it, obviously, right? But that's what I'm saying. There are ways for you to purchase data about people.
It's like a virus. It doesn't seem like it's an app. I don't know, but whatever. Okay. Well, anyways, so here's my last point to why I think I'm right? That I just want to add on as possible evidence.
I did not answer. I just wanted to let you know. I believe you can buy the data. Therefore, a joint venture with China makes sense because we have control. And as Trump said, you can police the topics, right? Because the problem in the United States is that they want to police the topics. They don't want to talk about some certain topics. They're going to ban them, right? Like as DQ said earlier, France, the rights, it wasn't, you couldn't find it on Instagram for months, and it was all over TikTok, all over X. Instagram, nobody talked about it. It happened for like 6 months straight, right? So that's what I think the real problem for the government of the United States is. Now I rest my case.
Okay. Here's my last piece of evidence that I want to add on to this. I think it's pretty strange that TikTok is getting all these billions of dollars worth of offers, and they haven't even considered a single one. That, to me, I think is an extra piece of evidence that the Chinese government is like, no, you can't fucking sell, right?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm just going to throw it out there as like one extra piece of evidence.
They did not consider selling the algorithm. They do not want to sell the algorithm. Even Mr. Wonderful, he wants to purchase it, and he's going to leave the algorithm. So it's $20 billion without the algorithm. You understand? So that's why Trump is getting involved.
How would they buy TikTok without the algorithm? That's crazy. That's like the most valuable thing out there.
Because they don't want to sell it. Because Instagram is behind. Just they don't want to sell it.
Why do they not want to sell it? Isn't that strange to you? They don't want to sell it? Doesn't that raise any red flags? I'm just saying, it's kind of weird.
Mr. Beast was offered a similar amount of money to sell his brand, and he didn't. I mean,
no, that wasn't. No. They offered him like $1 billion to sell his brand, and Mr. Beast's brand is worth like $20 billion. You guys think it's just a money thing? I think it's pretty interesting that China is like really doesn't want to sell the algorithm. Seems like it'd be something. If it doesn't raise questions for you, it's okay. All right.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you're a different country, Jonah, and you find out that you have an algorithm that your competitor is not able or capable of doing just yet, would you sell it, or would you take every advantage possible?
Would I, as a country, not as a company, as a country, care that much about an algorithm for a social media app if someone's willing to pay me $30 billion?
China is a communist country, right? So corporation and government are together. So if a company is also a government agency, and a company here's capitalistic. So let's put just TikTok against Meta. Meta has figured, or Snapchat for what it's worth, or YouTube for what it's worth, has now figured out how to create the same algorithm. TikTok, forget the Chinese, act like it's German. They have a better algorithm. They don't want to sell it because they think they got something that you guys haven't figured out. So my dog is going crazy. So
no, I understand your point, Gianmarco. You're arguing, in my opinion, you're thinking like a business person. That's what a business person might think. Governments, if I'm a government, I don't really care who has a social media algorithm. That's like a competitive advantage for companies. But like as a government, as a Chinese government, if I need more money, I'm gonna tax people, right? Like I'm not gonna I'm not like that. I'm not like super business minded.
Right, but China is thinking business because China is saying, and this is what I think, obviously I'm not China, right? But China is saying we want to be the world #1 superpower. And to do that, it's not that you have to destroy the United States. You have to submit United States. It's different. So you have to have a product that everybody wants to use to the point that they rather use you than their own products from their own country. That's how you win. You don't win by destroying the country. You win by having people wanting to work with you rather than their government. That's how you're winning.
You're proving Jonah's point, though, Gianmarco. Like, I feel like
I don't. Either way, China. Yeah, exactly. Either way, China wants the algorithm in order to destroy America politically, not by making more money, right? And so I think I'm just saying. I would say this feels great to be the conspiracy theorist, how you guys are just owned by the mainstream media, just like constantly listening to whatever story is. It's just so nice. It's so nice to be the one who's like actually questioning things for once in their life. But anyways, I think we're good on the.
Hold on, but just to be clear, because I must not be saying it in English. I do think that it's very likely that there are nefarious intent here. Right? There's nefarious intent here. I just don't think it's for the reason that you're saying it is. But I think as a strategy long term, here's one thing that China does way better than the United States, at least as a culture, is they plan 100 years in advance. Yvonne said math. It's probably that too. But so that's not racist, right? That's a compliment. That's a compliment. Y'all get over it. So I
oh God. Keep going.
But no, I think that they have like 100-year plans, right? Americans don't even know what they're doing for breakfast tomorrow. And so I think that just as a culture, they plan way ahead. I think it's naive to think that we give them this much access into our country, they're not going to do something with it. But I also think that the converse is, why is that platform the most neutral source of information from a communist country? Seemingly. Really, really interesting. I don't know enough about it to establish a firm opinion, but I just do believe that it's just, you can't get that much information without wanting to do something with it, especially when no one's talking about the fact that they own more farmland in the United States than almost anybody, right? Why? Why are we letting China buy our farmland? Do we know how much of United States water is sent overseas? Has anybody actually discussed that? This is scary. Like, from a geopolitical standpoint, the amount of resources that are being kind of taken over by foreign countries that are not our friends is really concerning. And it makes you wonder, why aren't we talking about that?
We're shipping water to China?
I'm going to pull up the exact information, the numbers.
I just don't know anything about that. You know what's a crazy one? You know, it's just a crazy thing. Do you know we export more rice to China than we import rice? We export rice to China.
That's racist.
Isn't that nuts? No, that's just true.
That's racist, bro.
That's true.
It's crazy. That's cultural appropriation, my guy. That's the definition of cultural appropriation.
Okay. That's funny. Okay. Are you looking that thing up?
Yeah. So, and I think that I saw that Saudi Arabia or something like that. I saw a whole video on this a couple months ago where, like, Saudi Arabia was doing this weird thing. They like wasted all their money and they were coming and getting it from the US.
What?
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a whole lot, but it really makes
all their money. What does that even mean? Like, in what way? You said they wasted all their money.
I don't remember. Yeah, no, water. Their water as a desert. And then they were getting it from the US. Did I say money? I meant water. But yeah, really interesting. I think there's a lot of questions surrounding this. What was funny to me was like the reaction to it. I think a lot of people had a big breakdown. It really kind of questions the dependency on social media. Is this a good and expected evolution? Is this bad? You see a bunch of posts like, go outside and touch the grass. And I hear you, there's benefits to that. But some people get their livelihood from these platforms, right? There are many people who make their money. They put food on their table from TikTok because, sorry, Meta, TikTok does a better job giving people the ability to finance and monetize than you do. Get your shit together, right? So, like, these are real concerns. And I think we have to solve for all of these things. We live in this landscape now where the world's different than a lot of people remember 20 years ago because it's changing so quickly. And so when you have these antiquated ideas about the way things are supposed to work, combined with geopolitical threats, combined with all of these different things, it just creates this weird collaboration of things. And I think that when you have infighting in this country, when you're dealing with all these different things, I think what you're doing is we get distracted a lot. I think there's a whole world that exists around us on any given day with real problems that we should be paying attention to, but we are oblivious to them because we're focused on this other shit that we're being told is more important, right? And I think this is where educating yourself and developing unbiased opinions actually becomes really, really helpful.
All right.
So with that, I just want to add one thing, guys. At the point where President Biden was selling water to China, this happened under the Biden administration. At that very point, there were tariffs on China, right? And most companies couldn't work with China because the tariffs that Trump started kept on going for most companies during the Biden administration because he kept them. So at the same time, and this is very curious, where America is selling waters and farms to China, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and Vanguard are able to invest in the Chinese market. Just putting it out there.
Well, there you go. All right. So we're going to talk about Trump now?
Yeah, I was about to say, should we switch? Should we switch to the executive orders? I think it's time.
Daddy Trump.
I would like to just show a video that's just kind of going through at least just what are the executive orders he signed real quick, just so that we got like a full list, because I was a little less prepared for that combo. So I just want to go through, because I don't even think I know all of them. I've heard only a few, right? And this is pretty recent. So this seems like a decent enough video. I know it's NBC, so, you know, piano, like don't scream too much, but.
Literally, I don't know how many. This is a you problem. I could not care less.
Okay, hold on.
Trump is declaring
Hold on. The intro was boring, so we're going to get to
this time. He is not wasting any time. Immigration, one of his key campaign promises, and that's where he's focused on day one. Trump is declaring a national emergency at the border and is sending U.S. troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. He also plans to end catch and release and does promise to continue building the wall. Trump plans to label drug cartels terrorist organizations. He also wants to end birthright citizenship. Now, that's a constitutional protection, so he will need a constitutional amendment to change it. What he's calling for is this change going forward, not for those who have already received that protection. What is birthright citizenship? It means if you are born in this country, you are a citizen of this country. Even, let's say, your parents may be from another country, but if you are born here in the U.S., you are a U.S. citizen. As soon as he took office, he ended what many asylum seekers had been using. It's a mobile app called CBP One. It helped to restore order as those sought appointments at the border to try to get into the U.S. As soon as Trump took office, that CBP One app, it no longer existed. It was shut down. Next up, the economy. As Trump puts it, let's make America more affordable again. And in that respect, he plans to unleash energy policies.
I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Trump also plans to end leasing wind farms. He wants to expand domestic energy production. He also wants to lower EPA emissions on cars. Trump plans to also withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords. That Paris Agreement, adopted back in 2015, it is legally binding, and it's meant to fight climate change. Not everyone agreed with it. Certainly Donald Trump does not. However, at that time, yes, President Obama in charge did agree. On the economy, we're looking for executive actions, not necessarily orders.
Okay, this is a lot. Should we
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of these. No, let's talk about a couple of them, then we can go back.
Okay, so let's start with the immigration ones, right? So what do you think? You like them? Dislike them? I'm assuming you like them?
Yeah, I mean, bro, I don't know. How many times do I, this is my problem, Jonah. I'm going to say this. I don't understand this. Respectfully.
Yeah, the whole thing about the border. What do you mean?
You are part of the problem in this particular small subset, because you have a very caveman left, right. If you think this, you think this, right? It's like, bro, fucking get over it. Yes, evolution, right? You're fucking Lucy. But no, bro, I just don't understand this. Why you have this naive thing, like if you voted for Trump, obviously you hate gay people and you think Mexicans should all go home, right, bro? Like if you don't have
a podcast on the immigration issue, though.
No. But there's a lot of elements. Look, Doug, Joe Marco left. He disappeared. Here's my answer to this, bro. I think the answer is usually somewhere in the middle. Here's my first of all, my vag is doing just fine. Cap, don't assume my gender. But here's I'm saying, can you not be bigoted on the podcast?
I love you, bro. You're the backup I got in this goddamn podcast. So keep going. It's called pattern recognition. Get over it. It's called stereotyping. Fuck you.
It's called stereotyping is what it is. It is different. That does make you racist and transphobic, Cap. This whole comment, you're canceled at this point, bro. You're
okay, keep going.
Here's what I'll say, bro. I've always been a little bit on the fence when it comes to immigration. Here's why: because the nation was built by immigrants, and I think that part of the American dream includes the fact that somebody from a nation that's less fortunate than ours should have the opportunity to make their way our direction and create the life that that they want. I think everybody that's a human right, and part of what America makes America great, in my opinion, is that right. Here's the problem. That right has been abused and manipulated and used for all these screwed up reasons. And so it created this slippery slope. I think that America should still be that country. So I'm conflicted when he says, like, signing away the birthright rights. Like, I'm conflicted about that because these people were born in the US, right? Why do they not, like, you're creating a bunch of gray areas here that I'm not a big fan of. However, there are so many manipulations that have been created where it begs the question, are we irresponsible for not blocking them? This is the definition of people came in and ruined it for everybody, right? They came in and they ruined it for everybody. So I'm not proud or happy about the fact that there are people who now have a lesser likelihood of experiencing the American dream because of these policies. However, the American dream has been tainted because of the abuse of these policies, so we're in this tough situation. Fun fact, the same liberals who keep saying that America's a shitty place and they're going to leave the country every single time are defending the people who want to get here. But no one's stopping to ask why they want to be here so bad, right? Maybe it's why is it that the people who aren't here appreciate what we have more than you do? So there's a bigger conversation here. I do think that the southern border is at a state of emergency. I agree with that. I'm just conflicted on this, and I do agree we need to tighten things up. I do agree we need to get these freaking cartels and these gangs that are coming in here. Those people got to go, right? Those are a problem. But I hate that is good people who are trying to do things and pursue the American dream are going to get mixed up in that. And I think it's just going to be nearly impossible for them to not get mixed up. I'm sad for those people. I hope that we create good functional processes so those people can come into the country. I hate that there's going to be families that are going to get separated that are full of good people. I don't like that, right? Now you could say, oh, well, they're here and they broke the law. Shut up, dude. Until you know what it's like to not feed your family and to try to do your best to figure out how to help them survive for them, you don't know what it's like. Shut the hell up. Right? I am not mad at somebody who was getting killed or and being threatened by cartels. I don't like, or people who were not able to provide and they were dealing with immense poverty. They snuck into a better place and then they got here and they did good things for that place. I'm not really mad at those people. And I get geopolitically the problems that creates. This is a much more nuanced issue. People can agree with me. People can disagree with me. Right? But there are many people in this country today who have fantastic stories, who contribute greatly to this nation, who are only here because their parents snuck in. Is it F them? Is it F their contributions? It's not a black and white issue, right? So I hate that we have to get black and white about a nuanced issue. But unfortunately, what's been happening over these last few years has destroyed any opportunity at not getting black and white, in my opinion. So we are where we are.
Okay. I mean, I agree with a lot of the things you said there, right? I mean, like I think it is like America was built by immigrants, right? I think I don't think this really is addressing the problem is the issue. And I think a lot like Trump I don't think Trump understands the problem, right? And this is where we got into last time. The issue isn't millions of people crossing the border illegally. The issue is that millions of people are applying for asylum legally and then being let in through a legal mechanism that we need to reform, right? That's the issue.
That's our problem?
That is a much bigger problem. Everything you showed me last time with them staying in the hotels and all of that shit, those are asylum seekers. That's where those people are coming from. That's why the government even knows about them, is because they went through the asylum process. What's happening there is when they apply for asylum, they're led into America. They're then given a court date, right? And then that court date takes them 6 or 7 months to get to. And then by that point, they're kind of lost, right? Some people show up, some people don't. But the point is that it's not like hundreds of Mexicans crossing the Rio Grande, right? That's what I think that's why I'm like, a wall will not help the main problem. The main problem is people are actually misusing a legal mechanism, right? That's kind of my take on it, right? Where it's like, you're not really hitting the main problem with illegal immigration right now. He's doing it somewhat with the CBP1 app, because that app let you do appointments for asylum, right? So that is somewhat affecting that. But in the end, there's still the legal process of asylum that, like, if Republicans and Democrats don't fix, this will keep being a problem even if you build the wall, right? So how I feel about it is I just don't think he's addressing the right problem. Like, illegal immigration isn't the best thing ever, right? Like, we shouldn't have open borders, right? Like, I don't agree with that. I think that's crazy, right? And we have to, like, understand what's the actual problem in order to address the right problem. And I don't feel like these executive orders are addressing the right problem, really. Maybe he will hopefully he'll, like, actually, and this was my problem, is because this is what happened. Biden suggested a bill that would solve this problem, and then Trump nuked it. Whatever on that. Trump's the president now. I'm hoping he brings back a similar bill that actually does that, right? And then hopefully too, because what I would do if I was president is I would probably do similar things he's doing executive order-wise, build the wall, and make it easier to become an actual citizen and become a part of this nation, right? I think we should let in more immigrants. I think we should double the rate, right? I just think it should be easier to become a legal immigrant. So that's my take on the immigration stuff.
So hold on, I'm a little bit confused. One, I agree with you. I think it should be easier to become a citizen. There's a lot we can do fast. I think you can do background checks fairly quickly. I don't know anything about the volume or the needs here, but my guess is with technology, what it is, I think that there should be, why can't we have a 90-day to approval process or a 90-day review process? Why can't that be a thing? I don't know. There's no reason it should take 10 years. Like, it's silly. That being said, I'm still confused at what you mean by when you say you don't think he's solving the problem, right? Because what are his approaches? His approach is create a state of emergency at the southern border. His approach is shut down the CBP1 app, which limits the issues, which you seem to have agreed with. And then he's dealing with the birthing issues, right? Which is connected with all of that. What should he be doing differently other than those things?
So legally, I could still, let's say, even with a state of emergency, even with a border wall, even with everything that you're talking about, if I come with the right paperwork to the border crossing saying, hey, I am a legitimate case of asylum, they still legally can enter the country, right? That's what I'm saying.
Can they do that during this state of emergency? Is it still that same process?
Unless he's just shutting down the entire border and then not following the law. I guess I don't necessarily know what state of emergency means. Yeah, I assume what that meant was, we're going to, like, bring troops to the border. We're going to make sure nobody's, like, running across the border, right? So I might be making assumptions, but per the laws on the books, right? The law, unless the state of emergency means we're just going to ignore laws. If you show up with the correct paperwork to apply for asylum, they are supposed to let you in, and then you're supposed to get a court date. They're supposed to actually do certain things by the laws on the books in the United States, right? So that it just doesn't. What I'm saying to you is that I just don't think he's at least in these executive orders, he's not addressing the main problem. I will hope that he follows this up, and maybe he will, and maybe hopefully somebody will actually talk to him about asylum, and maybe talk to him about.
I'm going to read this. I pulled this up on ChatGPT. They gave a couple of different sources from Reuters, Associated Press, and Time. So I'm going to read what they're saying here. On January 20th, President Donald Trump declared a national emergency. The declaration enables the federal government to access additional resources and authority to address what it perceives to be a crisis at the southern border. Here's what it means. Here's the implications. One, deployment of military personnel. The Pentagon has begun deploying 1,500 active duty troops to assist border agents. Their roles include providing helicopter support, constructing barriers, and offering military aircraft for deportation flights. This is in addition to the 2,500 National Guard and Reserve forces that are already stationed at the border. Number 2, reinstatement of the Remain in Mexico Party. The administration plans to reinstate the migrant protection protocols, commonly known as Remain in Mexico policy. This policy requires that asylum seekers wait in Mexico while their U.S. immigration cases are processed. However, the Mexican president has stated that Mexico has not agreed to accept non-Mexican asylum seekers, emphasizing that it kind of remains their accent. So I don't know what happens. If you come from Guatemala and you're not allowed in the United States, what does that mean? I don't know. Cancellation of asylum appointments. Administration has shut down the app, which previously used to schedule the asylum appointments. This resulted in the cancellation of appointments for thousands of immigrants, leaving many that are now just gathering, I guess. And then the designation of cartels as terrorist organizations. That seems to be addressing all of the concerns that you had.
Yeah, I mean, the Remain in Mexico is kind of like an interesting thing, right? I guess that does address it in some ways. I feel really bad for those people because if they're actually forced to remain in Mexico, that's literally exactly where the cartels are, right there. So they're probably just gonna have to wait 8 months and get like raped and shipped into slavery while that's happening. So I don't know if that's a great long-term solution either. I wish it was something more like we keep them in like camps right in our border. I don't know. That does actually address more than I thought, right? And yeah, I mean, you're right. That does address everything. Like I didn't know that it was necessarily the Remain in Mexico. I think that's not the best solution because I think those people should be like. Let's take like I'm going to give you a hypothetical example, right? Now, a lot of these people probably aren't legitimate asylum seekers. I'll grant that. A legitimate asylum seeker isn't that isn't for someone who just wants to move to America for economic reasons. That's for somebody who's like being persecuted, right? For being a certain race or religion or something like that, right? So I do admit that probably a lot of them aren't legitimate asylum seekers. Let's just say, right? But let's take an example real quick, Keanu. Let's just say there is one legitimate asylum seeker, right? And they show up at the border, right? For whatever reason, like they're getting persecuted because they're Muslim and Mexicans don't like Muslims. I don't know, right? If it's the Remain in Mexico policy is what we're going to do for that person, then they don't actually get asylum, right? Then there's like problems with his policies where like if there's a legitimate asylum seeker, they're not actually getting asylum then. They're still stuck where they're being persecuted. Do you get what I'm saying? So there's problems still, right? What you said is still definitely better than what I thought. But the point is that like what really needs to happen is a bunch of in my opinion, what needs to happen is legislatively, I think you should just build the wall. Build the wall, do all the things that are necessary to secure the border, and also make it easier. Like you can show up and legally join, right? And do both at the same time. Right? Maybe, I don't know, probably, but we don't know that for certain, right? And so, anywho, so that's how I feel about that one, right? I don't know if you want to keep talking about immigration.
Yeah, but I will address that. It's chicken noodle soup Yvonne made with rice noodles. I started feeling like absolute dog crap today, and my throat was like closed, so she made me chicken noodle soup. Sorry for my slurping on podcast, guys, but I feel like crap. So, for me, I just think that it's just an imperfect situation, right? Like, I agree with you. I just don't think that it's fair that the person who's trying to escape for their life is now stuck next to likely all of the people we really don't want. But how do we know the difference? The answer is we don't. And we don't have the manpower currently to review that process appropriately. This is our problem. Now, I don't want to get to the left or right stuff. Unfortunately, I believe that the policies that have existed previously, specifically and especially the last 4 years, have made this problem so dynamically worse than it ever was before that it's just like, well, what can you do, right? Like, we have entire apartment complexes taken over by gangs and cartels. That's a problem. Like, we got to fix this stuff because here's the thing, Jonah, would you agree or disagree? There are probably countries that don't like America and would like to see harm done to America. Well, if you're one of those countries and you know that there's a wide open border and this country is not protecting itself and you want to do an attack on this country, why would you not take advantage of sending people to go and position themselves there for an attack whenever you see appropriate, right? Like, I feel like it would be irresponsible for an enemy nation to not take advantage of that open door. Nobody would. They're not worried about our opinion on this podcast. These are foreign nations that are intent on killing people of the nations that they don't like. This is their goal. They want to murder people. They want to take over nations. They want to destroy other nations. They're not concerned about how cold their soy milk was in their latte. They're worried about real problems. And those people see a nation like the United States, who is a big, big target for some big and dangerous people out there. It would be, you're naive if you don't think those people are going to take advantage of an open border. You're naive if you don't think that they have tens, hundreds, or thousands of people conveniently and strategically placed wherever they need them to be in this country to cause harm whenever they want to.
I don't disagree with you. Like, right? I'm not saying, like I said, I basically agree with almost everything on, like, you do need a secure border, right? I guess here's my question, and I actually don't think he did. I don't think she said he did this. He didn't talk about deportations. I don't think
he did. Yeah, they actually have planes. Like, they're literally have aircraft to deport people
at the border. You mean, though? That's at the border.
I have no idea.
You mean, like, okay? Because, like, my thing is, like, anyways, we do, like, I want to talk specifically about the executive orders. We didn't talk about this one. The changing the constitutional amendment about if you're a citizen, if you're born here. I think that's a bad idea.
I talked about that.
Yeah, you talked about it. I didn't give my opinion. I think that's a bad idea. Personally, I think it's like, I don't know. Like, I think that's just like, it's like, okay, so now you're only American if you're born to American parents. I don't know. Like actually, I don't know if I agree or disagree. I'm, like, a little conflicted. Like, what that kind of gets into, like, what isn't a citizen, you know, right? Like, I think separating families should be illegal, right? This is what the other thing I was going to get into is to the deportation part. Like, if you're pro-deporting people who are, like, already been here for years and are doing fine, right? I think that's, like, not criminal, but immoral. I think it's super immoral. If there are people who are legitimately not gang members, like, they didn't commit a crime other than crossing the border. That's the only crime they committed. But other than that, they're a productive citizen. And then we deport all of them just because of that. I think that's really dumb. I think that's really stupid and really immoral, personally. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm curious.
No, well, that's what I was saying before, right? I addressed that before. I'm equally conflicted. I know that this is where people get heavy left, heavy right. You broke the law, now you're a criminal, which you gotta go home. Okay, cool. Shut up. Right? Like, I think that's a little bit of a naive standpoint. I understand that perspective, but I think there's more to it than that. So, and I think that if we create an environment where it's impossible to come here legally, there's people who've been trying for 10 years legally, right? Some people don't have 10 years to survive. So is it wrong that they broke the law to get in to do better for their family? Yes. You could argue without question that it is wrong that you broke the law to go into a country that you are not there legally, or you overstayed a visa, or you did X, or you jumped a wall, whatever. I get that. But I'm not mad at you. You're a single mother. You're trying to provide for your family. You got cartels chasing you. They're about to traffic your children. You jump over here. You come. You get a good job. You provide. You raise your kids. They go to school. They become productive members of society. I'm sorry. You can get mad at me if you want to. People that are out there with these opinions, I don't have a problem with that. That is the American dream. And it was tainted by politicians and bureaucrats who overcomplicated a process that shouldn't be this complicated. We have the technology to speed up this system. But now let's play the other side. It becomes really difficult because, Jonah, let's say for a second, right? You were president. I think you said you wouldn't be a president. You'd be king. You're the king of the United States. Let's say you're in a position of power and you have your same political stances that you have now. And you know that there's 30 million people in this country, right, that are here illegally. And you know that arguably, let's say 5 to 10 million of those people are here nefariously, right? They do not have good intents. They are cartel members. They are actual terrorists. They are actual criminals. They are actual degenerates from other countries that the country sent away, so they came and set up a shop here. Are you even listening to me, bro?
I am. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Just making sure
I
I'm
had a
talking
deal.
about
I had a deal that I was dealing with. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
close the deal.
No, I'm trying to get my guy to close the deal.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
Close
where are
your
we
story.
at here? No,
Close
keep
your
going.
story. He needs my help, but he won't admit it. So here's the thing, Jonah, right? Like, so you're in charge. This is Jonah's responsibility. You are tasked with this responsibility. Well, how the hell do you sift through millions of people accurately? You just don't have the time for that. But if you know and you have credible threats from credible law enforcement agencies that are saying we have imminent threats that there's going to be attacks, there's going to be bombings, there's actual murders, there's all of these different things, do you have the luxury of waiting for all of these things, right? Is there a point where, and I'm asking this your opinion, if you are tasked with this job and you know you have a ticking fuse, you have a ticking clock that you got to get something done in, and you don't have the luxury to wait, is there a point where maybe you get to the point where you're like, look, unfortunately, I can't sift through 30 million people in a reasonable period of time. Don't have time. I don't have time to quadruple vet all of their information because everybody's going to tell you the best things about themselves. Nobody's going to come say, yeah, unfortunately, I am a terrorist, so I'm sorry that you caught me. They're going to tell you the same sob story that the person who's actually got the sob story, right? How do you know the difference? You going to tell me that there's not single mothers who came over here with kids that maybe even aren't their kids that have every intent of blowing up this country or blowing somebody up or murdering people, and they're telling you their sob story about how they're a single mother and they're not? They kidnapped somebody's kids. That's a real thing that happens, Jonah. So if you're in this position, what do? How do you differentiate for the people that we agree should be shown compassion when you have no way of knowing who's who?
Well, in my opinion, I think you can sift through it, right? I mean, there's still 350 million actual citizens. We sift through who's a terrorist out of our actual citizens as well. We have a whole fucking system of determining whether somebody's guilty of something or if they've done an attack or something like that. I don't see how it would be that hard just because they're illegal immigrants versus citizens to not do the exact same process we do with citizens.
Jonah, if you, as an American citizen who was born here, raised here, you register your taxes, you register your address, you register your location, all of these, that you have a electric bill and a gas bill, you're tracked on all of the fronts. As an American citizen, if you've been committing fraud for the last 5 years and you've never been caught, the government has no idea whether or not you're dangerous. They don't know unless they have a reason to suspect. And that's you, a person who they're able to track with 100 different data points. What if you get?
We're talking about terrorism, right?
That's what I'm saying. If you have, Jonah, if you have 100 people that cross the border, all of them are saying that they're great people with kids who they want to provide a better life for. Right?
Wait, hold on. Okay, I guess we're talking about a different scenario. Wait, can I ask you questions? I want to make sure I understand your question.
Yeah.
Do you mean people who just cross the border? Or are we talking about people who are like just in San Francisco or Chicago?
Take a time frame. Let's say they've been here for 10 years. They've been here for 10 years. Terrorism existed 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Like that.
100 people
been there for 10 years. There are still, even if they're not a citizen, there are still like things
Let me re-ask my question. They've been here for 10 years. They've been here for 10 years illegally.
Yeah.
Right? And let's assume they're not taking advantage of government resources. Maybe they are. You decide. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, we have 100. Are there 100 people who have been in the United States illegally for over 10 years?
Yes.
Okay, fair. So we know that this is a plausible hypothetical situation. So we got 100 people. 100 people. 50 of those people are terrorists. 50 of them are good citizens. And you find them because you go to San Diego or Phoenix. You pick a city. And they manage to get the intel of like, okay, this agency says we got 100 people. What we know is 50 of these people are terrorists, linked to terrorist people, or have terrorist, right? We don't have exact evidence, but we know that 50 are terrorists. We know that 50 are good people. If they have not been caught breaking a law, and we don't have any tangible, you don't have to be caught to be a criminal. Many criminals break the law every day that just haven't been caught yet. So it's naive to assume that we're just going to know if they're criminals. No, you won't just know if they're criminals. You will know sometimes, right? If this guy is clearly a gang member, he over here throwing up his guns and he got all of, like, if he's, okay, cool, right? This guy, you caught him dealing drugs and, attempting to murder somebody. Okay, that's a simple situation.
Easy,
but
right?
if out of these 100 people that they are intentionally laying low, they are intentionally keeping their nose clean, how do you know the difference?
Well, I guess, okay, so you're saying, I just want to make sure I kind of understand your scenario, because I want to make sure I understand it right. Are you saying basically like, okay, let's pretend, let's not use the word terrorist, let's use the word spy, right? Because that might be an actual thing that actually does happen that I know about, right?
Can you like, Cap, bro, I love you, dude, but you...
Hold on.
Like, read the fucking book, my guy. Jesus Christ.
Okay, hold on. Ignore Cap. Look, you're talking to me. Okay, so I think terrorists, how we, with the issue with your hypothetical is, how do we know there are any terrorists in this particular group of 100 people?
Exactly.
Theoretically, no. Okay. No, not exactly. I don't know what you're talking about. Theoretically, we know there are terrorists in here because we have some evidence that somebody is somehow related to a terrorist, or somehow we have some evidence of something, right?
Okay.
So the issue so far with your hypothetical is nobody finds out about terrorism or somebody being a terrorist by like being like, we have a random group of 100 people, we happen to know 50 terrorists. That's just not reality of how it happens. How it happens is, hey, this person snuck into our country. We found some evidence that they are creating bombs. They were, Googling, whatever, some sort of evidence. And so now we're going to go investigate it and see if they're terrorists or not, which is the exact same process that would happen even if you're a citizen, right? So my point to you is that I think that that's how it should be done. I think it is possible to find out who's a terrorist and who's like a good, decent, upstanding, not citizen, but human, right? I don't think this is an impossible thing to do. I think this is possible. I think we do it with citizens. Your point about citizens having more records, more tax records, whatever, right? I still don't think that matters as much for something like terrorism, right? To me, something that might be more interesting, because this is actually something that happens, would be like spies, right? So a spy, like us, it would be interesting to talk about maybe like a spy, like a foreign nation sending a spy in via that way. But even then, a spy, it would actually be better if they were a citizen, right? Than if they were just in here illegally, because they could potentially just be deported at any moment.
Yeah, but hold on.
Is that we have, let me cap the point and then I'll let you speak. Basically, where I'm capping this point is, I think we have good mechanisms for finding terrorism. And I think those mechanisms are good enough without just blanket deporting people. That's like my cap. That's my cap to my point.
You have the luxury of being erroneously wrong, because the lives of thousands of people who get murdered by people who aren't here are not in your hands. If they were, I guarantee you wouldn't be as nonchalant with your decisions. If the lives of the people can you hear me? You cut out.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah. If the lives of the people who may hypothetically be hurt or killed or trafficked or murdered by the people who are here under nefarious intent, if the lives of those people were in your hands, you wouldn't be this nonchalant. It's easy to say, yeah, but I'm sure we got it, when there's no consequences to you being wrong. But what happens if you make a mistake and 1,000 people die? Are you going to be a little bit more cautious?
I mean, now we're talking about like, okay, here's the thing. who's more likely to do a crime, a U.S. citizen or an illegal immigrant, right? Because honestly, the last time I looked at this data,
bro, stop it, bro. This is a complete. You're literally using a straw. This is the definition of a straw man.
Okay. Keep going with your point. Maybe I misunderstood you.
Here's the point, bro. Like, here's the thing, and allow me for all the emotional people that are in the chat whose ears don't work. Here's the point. I agree that there are a bunch of people in this country who are fantastic people. And I would hate that their entire life gets uprooted because of the overwhelming problem that exists. And sorry was largely created by your homies, right? Period. Millions of people were brought in here. Had that not happened, we may not need to make this swift of actions. That's just a fact. You can deny it. You can pretend it's not true. I don't really care. The fact remains, they may not need to take this drastic of actions had millions upon millions of people not been allowed to come into this country, had cartels and gangs not literally overtaken apartment buildings in rural Colorado, bro. Just because it's not on the news every single day doesn't mean it's not happening. It's happening within a regular driving distance from where you live right now. Regular citizens of the United States were forced out of their homes by people with rifles that were from another country that came and took over the whole apartment building. This is happening all over the place, bro, right? So you can pretend it's not there. We can be in our feelings about it. The fact remains, this argument about, well, Americans commit crimes too. No shit. But we have different mechanisms to solve for those. And those mechanisms are not a part of this conversation. The conversation.
Here's my question to you. Why can't we use the same? Why can't we use the same mechanisms that we use for citizens determining who's committing illegal acts as we use on illegal immigrants? Do you think it's just because we have more information we give the government, or why can't we use the exact same mechanisms?
Because the mechanisms that are created to police American citizens are created for American citizens. Like, we're going to have to put them in prison. We're going to have, like, there's a huge amount of consequences for using those resources. But the Department of Immigration is created to decide who is not and who is supposed to be in this country, right? It just is what it is. Like, Kat, bro, you should just come up here and actually voice your point, because you haven't made one yet.
Wait, but like, hold on. No, but you don't get my point. Why can't we use, I guess maybe I'm confused, because I agree with everything you're saying. I agree that there are gangs that are a problem, and I agree that, right? What I don't understand is, I just don't think why can't we use our brains a little bit and find out who's actually a gang member and who isn't? It's not so like
we let the cops handle it. We should just let the cops handle it. Don't let the Department of Immigration handle it. Just let the cops have that. And if they are criminals, we'll put them in jail, and then we'll let taxpayers pay for their time in jail.
You're not understanding me. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Just listen to me for a second. Just make sure you understand me before you criticize me. I'm talking about using the same mechanisms to find out who is a terrorist or who isn't, right? What you do with them afterwards should be different if they're a legal immigrant. If they're an illegal immigrant, you deport them, right? You don't send them to jail and waste taxpayer resources, right? But what I'm trying to get at here is, and this is just the only place I disagree with you, is I think we can actually discern who is an illegal immigrant trying to make a better life versus who is an illegal immigrant who's a terrorist. You disagree with me? Exactly the way that we determine that you're a good citizen and not a terrorist, right?
Bro, we have the fact that people become random terrorists in local United States and we didn't know is because people can go under the radar. Yes, Jonah, of course, there are going to be a percentage that are obviously criminals. I agree with you on that. And I agree that we can use basic intelligence resources to determine, right, you're clearly a criminal. The obviousness of your relationships and your track record, very, very clear. But we are naive to think that all criminals are going to walk around looking and acting like criminals. There are going to be a lot of criminals who keep their nose clean intentionally.
Jonah, are you in a gang? Yeah. so I guess I just don't get it. Like why, okay, so they're keeping their noses clean. That means they're not doing crimes. That's what keeping their nose clean means until they do something, right?
Correct.
And like,
So let's
okay,
put a number.
so like this is a problem. I guess my point is that this is like, okay.
Let's put a number to it. Hold on. I think this will help.
Maybe I just misunderstanding you. I just want to see if this is where I'm misunderstanding you. Is my misunderstanding you is the basically what you're saying is like, okay, we have all these illegal immigrants. Some of them are bad, and some of them are going to keep their nose clean until they can do something super nefarious. While if we actually had the laws, they would have never been here in the first place, and therefore we should. And is that like where you're going? I won't do the therefore yet. Like, is that kind of what you're saying? Basically, is like because they were never supposed to be here in the first place.
No, that's just that's a philosophical argument. I'm not concerned about the
I don't know. In my opinion, respectfully, I don't understand why I can't just use the like. We figure out who's terrorists and citizens. We figure out we can do the exact same thing with illegal immigrants. I just don't see the difference, really, in my opinion.
All the people that get killed while your math doesn't work out properly because you just let
via a crime, right? They're killing people via crime. That is good evidence that we can use to then deport them. What do you mean?
Gotcha. So you think it's a good idea to let them fucking murder people first? Before we put them out of the country, because at least we know. I guess the dumbest thing on the planet.
Wait, I don't understand what you're saying. Wait, hold on. So should we prejudge people and just be like, you probably are a murderer, so fuck you? What does that even mean, right?
Jonah, you understand that this is the fundamental basis of our conversation, bro. The answer is unfortunately yes, that is what's happening. They are prejudging everybody.
Right, that's a bad thing. Do you think that's a good thing?
This is the argument that we're having, Jonah. Have we not been having the same conversation? This is my point.
No, I just don't understand how you don't think this is a good thing. I don't understand how you think that's a good thing. Okay. Explain to me how it's a good thing to prejudge someone when they haven't done anything wrong yet.
I've been listening to everything I've said this entire time. I'm gonna explain it again. Please listen, bro. Please listen.
Okay. Bro, maybe I'm an idiot. Come on. Help me out.
I'm gonna present my point, but I'm going to use numbers to do it. So that way you have a concept of the magnitude of the decision that you're making. Minority Report is a fantastic movie. I hear what you're trying to say, Cap. I just don't think that's applicable. I don't think it's applicable at all. And I will explain to you where the element of this makes it not applicable. I will explain why. Other than this one point, I think Cap is making a good point here, right? And I hear him. Here's the issue.
I don't know what Minority Report is, but okay.
It was a movie with Tom Cruise where they developed it was like a future dystopia movie where they had the ability to read the future and they could sense within like an hour period when someone was about to commit a crime psychologically, and people were getting arrested for the murder before the murder happened, therefore stopping people from getting killed. And then Tom Cruise finds out that there's problems with the program. It's a cool movie. It's a very cool movie. And I understand Cap's point. Like, I'm glad that Cap finally made a point that I can get on board with. appreciate you.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna apply hypothetical numbers just to provide some context to the gravity of the thing that I think you're being a little bit too nonchalant about. Hypothetically, right? What happened? Okay, hypothetically, Jonah, how many illegal people made it into this country just last year? Right, illegally came into the country.
I truly have no idea. 100,000, let's just say. I truly don't know.
No, the number was somewhere between 13 and 23 million.
Okay. I think that sounds way higher than it could possibly ever be, but like whatever. I'll go with it. Whatever. I don't care. Okay. But I don't want to get don't bog me down.
Okay. Let's go with the low number. Let's go with the low number. Let's go with 13 million. There's 13 million people. Okay?
Sure, whatever.
So let's use your number, right? I'm going to just use your number because this is all hypothetical.
It doesn't really matter for the point of your point, right? Whatever the number is.
For everybody watching, this is hypothetical. We're not implying that this is fact. It's a hypothetical statement.
Okay,
nobody gets in. So, Jonah, give me a number hypothetically. How many of those 100% of those 23 million people, or let's call it 10 million, 100% of those people are not criminals. I don't think 100% of those are criminals at all. I don't think that's a fair number. What percentage do you think potentially came into the country with nefarious intent, whether it was to just be a gang member, to steal stuff, right? Just not good people.
I mean, this is a complete guess. I haven't looked at any numbers whatsoever. I guess 10%, 10 or 15%, let's say.
10, let's call it 10%. So we got 1.3 million people that have the potential to do harm to other people. Now let's throw one more people. Out of that 1.3 million, how many of them potentially belong to either a cartel or a terrorist organization? Because not all bad people are involved with cartels. We're going hypothetical.
Let's just do another 10%. I don't really know.
Okay. So we got 130,000 potential terrorists and potential cartel members, right? Sure. Okay, that's great. Mathematically speaking, if because they're organized, the cartel and the terrorists kill 2 people, and then all of the other dangerous people only kill 1. 1.3 million people were murdered because we were not capable of differentiating between the 1.3 million people that are bad and the other 12 million people that are just good people. And this is my point, right? Now, let's assume that 80%, 50, let's just go for simple math. Let's just assume that 50% of the people that are bad, we know are bad because they got a track record. Okay, cool. That still leaves 650,000 bad people that we have no way to differentiate from an average single mother just looking for what's best for their country.
Here's exactly where I disagree. Why do you think there's no way to differentiate that?
Because if they came from another country, we have no background on them. All we know is that they got here, they've been here for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, and they took their kids to school.
They never for 5 to 10 years. You think we have nothing on them if they've been to 5 to 10 years?
Listen to what I'm saying.
Okay.
For the 5 to 10 years, they broke no laws, no traffic violations, no nothing. But they were secretly communicating with people who were bad. So the cartel people that we can label, right? Those people communicate with those people quietly, but they have no other interaction. They got a burner phone at best, right? Every once in a while, they go to the library. They have a meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anything. What we do know is that these people are 100% connected to the bad people and will be used for bad things, right? And let's say that bad thing is something small and only a couple people die, or it's something big and more people die. But let's just say it's only a couple people. Well, if you take that couple people and multiply it by 600,000, that's millions of American citizens over the course of X period of time that got killed because the X percentage kept their nose clean. Because we have no background of their association. We have no reason to pull background on hundreds of thousands of people who don't even have an American citizenship. We have no reason to deploy the resources until they give us a reason. Right? So by definition, them keeping their nose clean keeps them off of the radar, which means that they're more dangerous.
I have a solution for you. The reason that we could investigate them enough could just be because they're illegal, right? Why not do something like, if we're actually trying to actually keep the good people, because I guess here's the question, Keanu. So let's say hypothetically, let me change the hypothetical a little bit. Let's say hypothetically, I could discern with the snap of my fingers 100% who's a terrorist and who's not a terrorist, but they're all illegal, right? Let's just say with the snap of my finger, I could do that. Would you deport? Would you still want to deport all of them, or would you actually want to keep the people who are trying to make this country better? Right?
Me personally, no. I would for all the people that are already here, who I know are not criminals. If we could snap our fingers and know. Let's put them on a 30-day path to citizenship. Keep them in the house if they're in home. Okay. Create realistic things.
So you agree with me there, right? Okay, so then, in my opinion, instead of just blanket deporting, why don't we, when we find an illegal person, hold them, start investigating everything about them. They have their cell phone. They have a bunch of things. We investigate them. We hold them maybe for a week or something like that. And then we determine whether they have terrorist intentions or they don't, right? Like I think I'm just saying, like, I think there's other solutions that we could start using some discernment that isn't just blanket deportations like Trump wants to do. That's what I'm trying to say is, like, I think there are other methods we can use other than just blanket, like, sorry, man, sucks to suck. We're going to kick you out whether we know anything or not. Right?
Jonah,
That's what I was trying to argue.
This is Western civilization naivete that's creeping into your conversation because you're just ignorant. You have lived in a cushy world your whole life, and you have no concept firsthand of how dangerous human beings can be. You're not looking at this from a real situation because what you're telling me is that you are willing to let human beings get murdered by the people who slipped under your radar so that you don't have to deport the people that may not be bad. If you are willing to put people's lives on the line for that, that's crazy, dude. That's where I think
I'm confused. Hold on. Okay. I'm just trying to understand what you're saying because I don't understand how you got that from what I just said. That doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm trying to understand you, right? Okay. We find a random illegal immigrant, right? Okay. Just real quick, describe to me what would be wrong with doing my idea that I just said.
You're using the wrong argument. You're not using an equivalent comparison. This is my point. You're using straw man arguments to prove your point, and that's why your point isn't standing. Because you're comparing one random person that you find on the streets that is a manageable situation that falls under the guidelines of what you're espousing. Because it's one dude. I hear you. If we talk about one dude, bro. If we talk about one dude, yeah, let's do your thing. That makes sense to me. But we don't have the luxury of one dude. We have 13 million people that we don't have the resources to vet. We have no way to vet that many people in a reasonable enough amount of time to be able to keep our American citizens safe from the people who are versus aren't.
Pessimistic, negative Nancy. We're the United States of the fucking America. If we want to do something, we can do it, right? I think you're just not seeing the possibilities. I think it's possible. I don't think you and I are just gonna have to agree to disagree. Like I think if we wanted to, the United States of America was like, look, we want to keep the good people. We're going to actually put some fucking effort into this. And we're going to like get off our asses, spend, I don't know, $50 billion to actually investigate all these illegal people and not just blanket deport.
Yeah.
We could do it. You know what I mean? Like we could do it.
Like Luis, like Shauna says something similar. I actually disagree with this. I don't think that because someone is here illegally.
It's different. That's why I asked you the question, and I'm glad you agree with me. It's like the question is even the good people, do you want to deport them? Then that's what I think Trump wants.
I don't. And that's the thing here. Like what I think. So I'll summarize my point, and we can agree to disagree, right? Like I think that what my point that I'm trying to make here is that a lot of people who are against this are way too black and white about it. They're calling it way simpler than what it really is, right? Because here's the thing, Shauna, it's not that easy. It's real easy for a bunch of American people who never had to go through it to say, just come through legally, try it. I promise you your opinion is going to change. It's not that simple. There are people who have been trying to get their citizenship for a decade and still aren't capable of doing it. Fantastic law-abiding citizens who literally are going through the process, and the process is screwing them over. This is a real thing that happens. And this is why I don't agree with this black and white perspective on either side. I don't think we should just like, oh, you're a piece of shit because you broke the law. I get it. You broke the law. You broke the law. I get that. But I'm going to be honest with you. I might have done what you did. Does that make me a piece of shit? Nah. I'm just trying to do what's best for my family. I think a good parent does that. Here's my issue. And this right here is where my issue comes into play. And I guess this is where you and I disagree, Jonah, is this. I don't know if we have the resources to accurately vet 20 million illegal people that are in this country right now. And I hate calling them illegal people, right? But just illegal immigrants that are in this country right now. I don't know that we have the resources. If we have the resources to accurately do that within a 30 to a 90-day period, F it. Go crazy and vet them. Here's the thing. Hold on. Let me finish my point. You can say what you want to say because I'll be done on this topic after this. If I don't think we do. I think that the United States is this close to a bunch of really, really big catastrophes, and our little soft asses are completely naive to it because we ain't never been through shit. right? You don't know what it's like to have bombs going off by your house in the middle of the night because you have that luxury. You don't know what it's like to have people walking up and down your street with AK-47s dragging you at your house because you have that luxury. And your naive softness about the fact that the world actually works the way your extremely cultured and guarded experience says is just
why
not you.
I don't know why we're attacking me personally right now, but
no, not you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking in general. I'm not speaking to you specifically at all right now, Jonah. I'm talking about the people in general who have this idea like, oh, well, it'll never happen. Sure. It's naive, right? I don't think you have that perspective personally, Jonah. I don't, right? But that's why I think that the people who are loud against this are loud because they've never been through it. Find me somebody who just came from a war-torn country. I would love to hear their perspective on this. My guess is somebody who lived in a war-torn country is not going to be as liberal as the people who haven't. They're going to be like, nah, bro, stay out of here. I don't like, because I know what it's like. Once the slope gets slippery, it's so bad and it's hard to fix. I would rather you be safe than sorry. I think that's what they would say. I can't speak for them. I don't know. So my summary point is this. I think it sucks. I think the situation sucks. And I hate the idea that good people may get mixed in with people who aren't good. And if there is a way for us to not do that, if there is a way, I would 100% be for it.
I just say, wait, can I just say something, or do you want to conclude real quick? Because I want to just add something.
I'm done after this. But here's the thing. I don't know that is that possible. I feel like we're at a point, and I could be wrong. I feel like we're at a point where it's like there's way too many people. We do not have the resources. We need to get all of the threats out and then start fresh. If there's a better way, I wish there was. But my guess is this. I don't know that there is. And I think if you were in the position, Jonah, I don't think you would be this willy-nilly.
I want to say, literally last week, you went to me and said, you know what? If there are California fires, I'm gonna try the fucking huge speaker with the sound waves. I don't give a shit if it works or not. Let's try some shit, right? Like why go to the immediate? We're definitely hurting people, right? That's all I'm gonna say. In my opinion, Quijano, I would like you to think maybe something else is possible, that we actually are able to vet these people. But here's the actual take, Quijano, because here's what I think Trump actually believes is this.
Here we go.
I mean, this is what he actually believes, right? And this is what most conservatives believe. Is that you actually we want to send all of these fuckers back because they're illegal.
Let's do this.
I'm just saying, like, literally, that's what conservatives believe, and that's why we're just deporting en masse. I don't think they want to vet people at all. I think they're like, fuck you, grandma. You came here illegally in 1982. Buy a day. Like, adios, granny. That's what I think they want to say. They're like, oh, no hablas the English SS? Okay, well, get the fuck out. That's what I feel like, anyways. But okay, we're talking about immigration for quite a while. Can we go to the other ones?
Yeah, let's go to some other ones.
All right, cool. So he talked about the economy. I'm going to rewatch this because we're going to rewatch this real quick because we kind of just went off on immigration for a while. So hold on. Okay.
Let's make America more affordable again. And in that respect, he plans to unleash energy policies.
I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Also plans to end leasing wind farms. He wants to expand domestic energy production. He also wants to lower EPA emissions on cars. Trump plans to also withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords. That Paris Agreement, adopted back in 2015, it is legally binding, and it's meant to fight climate change. Not everyone agreed with it. Certainly Donald Trump does not. However, at that time, yes, President Obama in charge did agree. On the economy, we're looking for executive actions, not necessarily orders. As he sees it, these energy measures will reduce the cost of living.
Okay.
All right. What do you think about those? Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill.
I think it's sad.
Wait, Which part?
I feel like they're, like thinking that we need to use oil in order to save the economy. I think there are better ways that we could do it than just saying fuck climate change to figure out the economy. I think there are just smarter solutions, right?
Like,
so like, I'm not like, I understand his point, right? Economically, yes, if you just start drilling for oil when oil is cheaper because oil is related to so many things in the economy. Shit, am I? Wait, no, you disconnected. Okay. I understand his point. He's right. Economically, if you just start drilling and doing oil is one of those resources when it's cheap, everything else, it makes costs way cheaper, right? And that can help the economy. But I just think there's so many other things you could be doing other than just fucking. So, like, for instance, I think nuclear is actually how you would solve like climate change and deal with the economic problems with energy, right?
Okay. Nobody's talking about that.
I know. I'm not saying that anyone is, right? I'm not saying like anybody is talking about what I personally think is the right solution, right?
Yeah.
But I just think I personally think it's sad that like this is the way that we're going to cure the economy when there are other ways, even other like energy is part of the problem, right? But really, I think like a lot of the issues with the economy right now, inflation is kind of it's somewhat under control. We could do a few other things. Theoretically, what you would do to keep helping with inflation would be, and this would be a Republican thing, partially Republican, partially Democrat, would be to cut spending and increase taxes, right? That's actually how you actually kill inflation a little bit, is by dampening the economy down a little bit.
Yeah, I honestly think people need to start paying more money to the government, right? They already can't afford their food. The government needs their due. I think this is the solution.
What I'm saying is in terms of food, if you want to tackle food specifically, tariffing Mexico, who provides most of our strawberries, a lot of our avocados, a lot of the foods and stuff like that, that's usually a bad idea for inflation, right? Which we haven't even gone to. He's about to fuck poor people over with that one, right? So I'm just going to throw it out there, right? But in terms of this specific thing, I think there are other things that could be done that are better. Cheapening oil will help the economy. I just think there are other things you could do other than just doing something that's not going to help climate change. That's my personal take.
Yeah, I think we're on two different sides on this one. I hear you. Here's my issue, bro. And I don't think you really need to respond to this. I would just toss this out there as something to think about. The majority of the arguments that you pose are novel ideas that sound good, but that aren't really deployable to our knowledge. And so as a result, you're saying, yeah, I don't like your decision because why don't you do this thing that actually isn't real? Well, if you're comparing their decisions against things that can't happen anyways, then you're by definition, like if it's true that we don't have the resources to vet 30 million people, then your solution isn't a real one. And therefore you are not fairly discrediting their solution because you can't present a better one. When it comes to energy, there's lots of things you can do. What? Nuclear. Well, we're not doing that right now. So it's not a realistic solution. So you haven't actually suggested
a realistic solution. I don't know. I think that's, what do you mean? We have nuclear power plants. We could make more of them, right? I don't understand what you're talking about.
I just feel like the infrastructure and all of the change that goes to switch the country to that direction, I just don't think that's a realistic thing to happen in the next decade, let alone in the next 2.5, 3 years, right? Which is really the time frame he has to actually get stuff done. So I just don't think that's a fair comparison. Now, we can agree to disagree. I just think that if you're going to compare anybody, whether it's Biden or Trump or anybody's decisions against things that aren't real, it's just unfair. You're not giving credit where it's due. Here's what I do think. I think that this is way bigger than climate change. I think climate change it's a catchphrase. I don't think people really know what that means. I think most people who have strong opinions about climate change don't actually understand climate change. And they're using it as this thing to counteract an argument that doesn't really exist. The reality is I don't think that this is a climate change issue at all. I think this is an energy independence issue. And I think that the ramifications of America using their natural resources is greater than just the reduction of inflation. It's the replacement of America's sovereignty Right now, we are dependent on nations like Russia. The same liberal party who mocks anybody for working with Russia will literally sit there and simultaneously force us to be dependent upon Russia. America is dependent on Russia for oil reserves. The country that we're saying, if we interact with in any way, well, obviously you're a communist. It's a contradiction by definition, but nobody wants to talk about that. I think that drilling creates energy independence. The United States is one of the most commodity rich nations on the planet. If we, by definition, just used our own commodities to provide for ourselves as a nation, therefore making us not dependent on other nations. Right now, if China said F America, medical industry, our whole healthcare system, so many things, done. Why? Because we're dependent on China. For energy, we're dependent on another country. How are we supposed to be the most powerful nation on the planet when our two biggest enemies control our most important resources? If the people who are complaining about Trump's decisions to solve those problems aren't willing to address those problems, then they're being naive by definition, because that's a problem. Dependence on China, who hates us, is a problem. Dependence on Russia, which everybody has an issue with, is a problem. This decision doesn't just kill inflation, it also puts us in our own independence. It makes us a sovereign nation again, that we don't have to. If China says F y'all, guess what? Everything goes on as normal. If Russia says F y'all, guess what? Everything goes on as normal. This is way bigger than climate change. It's also way bigger than inflation. It has way larger ramifications. And I just think that the talking points won't address that, but I think it's that serious. Why aren't we talking about it?
Okay. I mean, like, you and I are just going to disagree that my solutions are unrealistic. I think it's pretty realistic to be able to switch over to nuclear. We could do, like, I just don't think, like, I think people don't recognize, like, what America has done in the past, right? We literally, during World War II, switched everything over to tank production, right? We literally built more tanks than we thought could even be possible. We surpassed our numbers by hundreds of thousands, right? In a span of 4 years. Personally, I just think if America wants to do something, it will be able to do it. So, like, I'm not saying, like, I understand his point. And I'm not saying, like, Democrats, it's not like Democrats are like pro nuclear energy. They have some stupid opinions about that too, right? This isn't a left or right issue, right? I just want the smartest solution, right? Why can't we have everything, Quijano? I don't understand why we can't find a solution where climate change is addressed and also help poor people.
Yeah, but if that's not on the table, right? But it's not on the table.
Okay. You and I are just gonna, like, it's on the table if someone wants to put it on the table, right? So that's all I'm gonna say is, like, I understand why he's doing it. I'm not saying that it won't have positive immediate outcomes, but there are better solutions that I would do. So, like, I think it's sad because I think there are better solutions. I mean, that's just my take, right? I don't think there's, like, anything I don't think there's more to talk about than that, right? Like, you and me agree about the consequences, right? And energy independence is a good thing, right? Like, I don't disagree with what you're saying there. I'm just saying there are better solutions. So, but anyways, you want to keep going?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
YouTube rejected my own comment calling it spam? Rip. Anyways, what I said, Cap, because you said this was your comment. And what I said is, yeah, that's I see you, but until there's a war with the countries on which you're trading, right? Or with which you're trading, then it becomes something else.
As far as core Republican conservative values promised all along by Trump during his campaign, he says those DEI policies, they're going away. Instead, he will be focused on colorblind and merit-based. He's also issuing a federal mandate that there are only two sexes, male and female. How might that impact all of us? Well, it could even impact your passport or other federal documents. It could impact education policy. It could impact the military. We're going to be watching that for sure.
Okay. So part of this we'll talk about and part of it we won't. But I'm ready. I don't like DEI. I like meritocracy a lot more. I think that's a great idea personally. I think things should be meritocratic, not you. You're muted, but yes, it is correct.
I'm just mouthing meritocratic. Is meritocratic the appropriate application of that word?
I'm pretty sure. So I do like that. I don't know how much we want to get into the genders thing. I think it's a kind of cringe, but whatever, right? I don't know how much you want to talk about that one, but I agree with about the DEI stuff.
Meritocratic, relating to or characteristic of us. Meritocratic. Very good.
Fuck you. Word of the day, bitch.
Look at you using your big words. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for merit-based too, right? I don't think anybody wins based on participation trophies, and we've gotten real soft in that regard. The reality is, guys, like it's what's the saying, right? Hard times create strong men create good times create soft men create hard times. I think there is elements of truth to that. And I think that giving everybody participation trophies creates really, really soft people and strong, soft environments. And once again, there are nations that want us to lose. And so, yeah, I'm all for meritocracy.
All right, then we'll just keep moving on. We basically agree on. I agree. We both agree on Trump on that. All right.
Trump also has big plans to rename the Gulf of Mexico and Mount Denali. Let's start with the Gulf of Mexico. As for the Gulf of Mexico, Trump says he'd like it called the Gulf of America. It's not unusual for bodies of water to have different names, but for Trump to make this big change happen, he's also going to have to work with international hydrographic organizations to see it through. Even if that happens, other nations may not recognize the name change. When it comes to Denali, that was an Obama rename. It was changed from Mount McKinley. Today, Trump says he will restore that name to Mount McKinley to honor President William McKinley. Why was it called McKinley to begin with? A gold prospector gave it that name. He was an admirer of McKinley at the time, although we've read McKinley never visited Alaska. Nevertheless, that was the name since 1896. Officially, the federal government also agreed back in 1917. However, President Obama in 2015 changed the name to Denali. Denali means the high one in its Native American origin. And that's why President Obama gave it that honor. However, Trump tried to do this in his first term. The Alaska senators said no, they objected. However, today he plans to go forward and rename it Mount McKinley. Overall, very busy.
Okay, what? That's so funny. That's so like such a dick move in my opinion. Like the Alaskan senators are like, no, we really like the name, and then he's like, nah, fuck you. Like, it's like, bro, why? Do you care that much about McKinley? That's like, all right. Well, like,
Yeah,
I feel like
honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I didn't even know about that. I didn't even know about that. To be completely honest with you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. For me, I don't know if that's on my top 10 priority list. Like I could care less the name of that mountain. Like you call it what you want.
It's also just that's just funny. Like that's just hilarious to me. It's like, all right, bro, whatever. Like who cares? You know, in the end, I just think that's just sound. The mountain one just sounds like you're being a dick for no reason. I don't know. That's funny, but
yeah, maybe.
I mean,
what do you think about
whatever?
Reggie, what up? Yeah, I don't know. Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, it's whatever. Like again, these are things that don't really matter. Oh my God, Cap. Jesus Christ, dude.
Hilarious. But so also, yeah, real quick, where did Obama get that? I hope someone recommended that to him. I hope he didn't just like pull that out of his ass. I hope like Alaskan people came to him and was like, hey, can we name this Denali? You know? It'd be kind of crazy if he's just like, nah.
That lady missed a lot. So let's talk about a couple of more because look, I got something here. I have I have a tweet that actually shared a bunch of
them. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get a little bit of water.
Yeah.
I'm listening though.
All right. So let's go through some of these. There's a bunch of these. Here we go. It's threat of all political executive orders. First and national environmental. So I'm assuming that's the Paris Climate Agreement. I'm assuming you want to stay in there. Emergency relief.
Wait, can we talk about the Paris Climate Agreement for a second?
If you want. I
Just
honestly,
what, like, do you know anything about it? Do you know anything about it?
Not really.
I don't know much about it. I'm just curious, like, what's the, like, is it just that they're asking people to reduce oil? Like, I'm just curious, like, what's even the argument?
My understanding is that a lot of these organizations that America was in, the United States was funding drastically, and other countries weren't participating and paying their fair share. So America was kind of becoming a sugar daddy of things. And that's where people's issue came into play. I think that was a big part of it.
That sounds like NATO and stuff, but okay, we don't know much about it.
I don't know the rest of the details, to be completely honest with you.
Okay, keep going, you guys.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's part of it. I don't really know. Hiring freeze. I don't know what he did here. This doesn't do a great job. I hereby order all heads of all executive departments and agencies to deliver price relief consistent with applicable law to the American people. I don't know what this is or how this is going to do that. But that sounds like a good thing. What do you think?
Which one? Delivering emergency price relief for American families at being the cost of living crisis. Sure. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't know what that means exactly, but sure.
Return to in-person work. This is crazy. I assume that this was already done.
All of Trump's executive orders signed. Let's see if we can find
ending the weaponization of the federal government. The Attorney General, in consultation with the heads of all departments and agencies in the United States, shall take appropriate action to review the activities of all departments and agencies exercising civil or criminal enforcement authority. Okay, so I think that's a good thing. Overstepping the government.
I mean, the thing is like everything's in the details, right? I don't know what that means. I don't know what they're actually
right here. This is just like, look, he rescinded 78 of Biden's executive orders.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see. I'm trying to find like another video like that one where someone's
what about
like,
this one?
Granting pardons and commutation of sentences for certain offenses relating to events at or near the United States Capitol. I think that's cringe. I think that's pretty whack of him to do. I think it was whack that Biden pardoned also all those people preemptively. Pardoning people for political purposes is that's like where you start, it's legal, but you start teetering on destroying democracy. When he did it to them, I think that's really bad. When Biden did it, I thought it was really bad too.
Here's my question to you. So let's talk about that, right? Biden pardoned his son, who was supposedly innocent. Why did Biden pardon Fauci?
Probably because, well, I mean, okay, so part of it is, and I do understand the other argument too. Part of it was that, what's his face? He like brought, I don't know enough about this specific thing. Part of it is that Trump hired someone, and this is going off memory. I really should just look up an article because it's been a while. He hired someone who basically made a hit list of all these people being like, we're going to investigate the fuck out of all of you, right? Even though we don't necessarily have that much information on it yet, but like, we think you possibly did crime, so fuck you, we're investigating you, right? Part of me is like, okay, I still don't think it's right to preemptively pardon someone, but I also think it's pretty whack to use the federal government to consistently investigate someone when there is no evidence out right now, or very little evidence, for them having done a crime, right? Thank you, Kash Patel. That's his name. That's the guy who we hired, right? So I don't agree with the pardons in the end, but also what Trump did to preempt that is also wrong. And I want that addressed too, right? Where it's like,
so like pursuing criminal charges that are erroneous is bad, like what they did to Trump when they tried to impeach him?
No. Here's the difference. They don't actually have listed crimes for these people. We at least had a crime for what Trump did and had some evidence. these people, right? There were no listed crimes for basically anybody except Hunter Biden, right? Like you said, what did Fauci do that was illegal?
No, but that's the point. That's the point. He wasn't being held against his will. He wasn't dealing with the consequences of an unprocessed crime. He wasn't being restricted from due process. Right? So what's your concern? For me, when I look at him pardoning Fauci, it's because he knows there's a chance they're going to come after him. Well, why would they come after him? Possibly due to the erroneous and disgusting crimes that he committed as it relates to COVID.
What erroneous crimes did he commit in COVID? Crimes, illegal things.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that Fauci was a part of the funding and creation of the COVID-19 vaccination, or disease. Right? You're familiar.
Either way, I know what you're talking about. Is that a crime?
Creating a virus and then releasing it to a population globally, is that a crime?
No. Okay, so you think he did it purposefully because, we need to do a COVID episode because you and I keep mentioning COVID, but I haven't done research on COVID in way too long. So I think you and I don't actually 100% know what we're talking about right now.
Okay, so let me say this.
I remember with that was Fauci funded the coronavirus lab that was right next to where it was released, but
it was right next to it
all around the world. Hold on, but he funds a ton of labs around the world, right? So it's not like it was only this lab specifically to release coronavirus on the world. Like I'm just saying that
like the lab where he funded the coronavirus creation and research was only next to the place
labs that research coronavirus all around the world, right? So that doesn't mean that he's okay. If that's like a legitimate crime we actually think about, right? I love that you have a book. Great. I'm proud of you. Proud of you, Marco. Glad you own a fucking book, okay?
I love that you have a book.
Yeah, good shit, dude. Glad you own a book, bro. So anyways, okay. Let's stick to the pardons. I don't want to get down the Fauci route.
No. Here's what. So let me address what you're saying. Here's the accusation. The accusation, largely by many people, let's just call it in this country. I won't say around the world, but it is around the world. Is that Fauci funded the creation of the disease, oversaw the distribution of the disease, therefore intentionally sickening and killing millions of people across the world, denied doing so, lied about doing so, and then gave a bunch of false, inaccurate, and conflicting information about the solution. There are tons of videos that show that Fauci was clear saying, a mask will never help with this. It is a horrible idea. In fact, it will make you sicker. And then he changed his stance by saying, oh, no, we need masks to do this, to do that. The whole situation was a gigantic debacle that many people believe was an orchestrated attack. Many people believe this. Now, let's go to this guy, right? Clutching at straws. Absolutely no evidence. Okay, well, if there's no evidence, but everybody knows this is what he's being accused of, why would Biden need to pardon him? Biden knows what he's being accused of. So the implication that Biden's pardoning him for things when he knows this is what he's being accused of, but they haven't been in a position of power to pursue those charges yet, sends a message. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying I know all the details, but it definitely sends the message that there is something to be pardoned from. And Biden knows this guy played the team, and he knows they're going to come after him. So he's just preemptively putting out pardons. That, for me, is the definition of an admission of guilt.
Okay. I mean, like, here's what I would say, right? Again, I don't like the idea. I didn't like the preemptive pardons. I don't think it's a wise thing to do. I think the reason he did it was not necessarily that they're guilty of something. It's not, I don't think it is, I am pardoning you because I know you're guilty of something, and then they're going to put you in jail and you're my homie, right? That's what you're accusing him of. In my opinion, what he's doing is he's saying, I know these people are on this hit list, right? And we can show the hit list if you want, right? A lot of the hit lists are just like, it's just like random things, right? Like a lot of them are just all of these people: John Bolton, Bill Barr, Joe Biden himself, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Alyssa Farah, like a lot of these, Kamala Harris. Like there's a lot of people on here where it's like, we're just creating a hit list where it's like, wait a minute, you can't, it's a dictatorial idea to come in and start to come into government and be like, I don't necessarily have a crime that you committed, right? But I have a political hit list of people that I want to try to find dirt on, right?
Like
now you think that's what now you think that's what the Democrats have been doing to Trump. I understand that. So now this is where we're just gonna have to like agree to disagree, where first off, I would say on all of these people, if you look at the hit list, there's not like specific crimes that each one did. They're just like, here's all the people we don't like, and we want to just investigate all of them in order to find crimes. There's a difference. I know it's slight, right? And if you want, I can show this to you, right? I didn't know I was sharing my screen. There's a difference, in my opinion, between I think you murdered someone, so I want to investigate you. Here's some of my evidence for murdering you murder someone, versus me going in and being like, Quijano, I want to investigate you in order to find a crime, right? There is a difference where what Biden was worried about is that you're just going to investigate, even though you don't have a specific crime you want to accuse somebody of, which is also bad, right?
But
so I want to say,
do that. I don't think Trump has ever said, we're going to go and investigate Fauci until we find something. No one's ever actually said that.
Kash Patel, this guy he hired, did say that. Like this guy, like, we can watch some few right now. That might help. But Trump didn't say that, but Kash Patel, who we hired, did, right? He's like, I want to investigate all of these people. I think they probably did crimes, so we're going for it, right? So what Biden was doing was he was preventing these investigations when they didn't have a state crime. I think it's bad to use the pardon like this because it sets a bad precedent where you start using pardons when they really shouldn't be used, right? So for instance, this could be really bad because let's say in a future example, right? You use a preemptive pardon like this, but somebody actually did commit a crime and we actually do find evidence, but then the president had pardoned them from like 16 years ago, right? That's why I think it's a really bad idea in the end. So anyways, I would like to say, I think it's terrible that Trump pardoned the January 6ers, especially like also pardoning the January 6ers. Why did he do that? They actually did commit a crime. They like went to trial and shit like that.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the lady? Lady in prison from J6. What is her name? J6 grandma.
Like that.
Was
J6.
Yeah. J6 grandma was sentenced to a decent amount of time. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a long amount of time.
Why was
you know
she
what she was guilty of? Because she was in the Capitol building on January 6th. And you can watch. Why
was she sentenced? And because there were hundreds of people.
This is the point. She is one of the many examples that they're pointing out of people who were given these blanket, erroneously, some people were given 25 years. Right? You got literal rapists and drug traffickers that are given 5 or 6 years. But there are people who were given 25 years in prison for entering the Capitol building. The justice system was weaponized against these people in a disgusting abuse of power, in my opinion, for a lot of the cases. Now, I don't know all of the cases in detail. But I know I
also don't know enough about the specific cases. How I understood it was anyone who didn't commit an obvious crime, like didn't break a window, didn't like smash, like didn't like do any of the violent stuff that was happening that day, didn't really go to jail. How I understood it was the people who were doing violent stuff, like breaking windows, entering in, bashing doors in, stuff like that, right? So I don't know the specific cases. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll look into who was like actually charged into the January 6th, right? And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they were good. They were good pardons, because it's like, unless we're going to charge everyone, because there were like tons of people in the Capitol building that day, right? But somebody who like people who like actually committed crimes should go to jail that day. The question is do they actually commit a crime or not, right? So
well,
I'll look
I don't know the details, but I think that's the argument there, is that a lot of these people were just blanket statement given charges because they happened to be in the building. They didn't do anything. They didn't break any like specific laws in that they went and caused damage. But yeah, to that point, unless you killed somebody, what would you do to deserve 25 years, right? Like it just doesn't make any sense.
If you were doing violent things, I don't know about 25 years, but if you were doing violent things like bashing in windows, breaking down doors, like I don't know if I don't remember if there were anybody who was actually like assaulting police officers or attempting to assault police officers. If you were doing that stuff, I'm sorry, yeah, you should. I don't know about 25 years in jails, but you should face for those crimes, right? You're doing illegal shit, right? I don't know enough about these 14 specific people, so maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to do more research into it, but
yeah, there were people that were imprisoned who weren't even there, just for context, just so you know.
Okay, I'll do more research into it, right? I'll do more research. I'll look it up, right? Because I haven't 100% looked into every single case, right? But anyways, preemptive pardons are cringe, but unless these people were like, unless there were people being unfairly charged, those pardons are cringe. Also, like if those people like actually,
I think that I mean, this is a fair question. This is also a fair question. But here's my question to you, Jonah. Like with all of this, and I think I know your answer, but I'm curious. What do you think so far? What do you think since
of Trump?
November, right? Because I feel like he's been in office for a couple of days.
What do I think of Trump and how he's been doing so far?
Correct. Because, and we got to go back to November because things have already transpired even before he got.
There are a lot of things that I like that he's done so far. Here's what it always is with Trump. Out of the things that he said he's going to do, how many of them are you going to do and how many of them are they not going to do? Because he lies a lot, right? So a lot of the things he's done so far, I love. I love that he brought a peace to Israel. I love that he was like, Netanyahu, fuck you, end this, right? I love that. I love the fact that he when Putin called him and congratulated him on winning, he was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing with Ukraine? You better stop that shit, right? Like, I love that stuff. This was the stuff that I was like, I'm happy that he's president for, right? Now, tariffing, he also said, February 1st, we're tariffing Canada and Mexico by 25%. I hate that. That is going to fuck poor people or start fucking poor people specifically because of what we get from those countries, right? That's going to increase the cost of food a lot. We get a lot of food from Mexico, guys. We get a lot of strawberries. We get a lot of avocados. We get a lot of different vegetables from there, right? Canada, we get a lot of oil from Canada, right? So, okay, making ours less expensive, but then also like some of the oil that we have coming in, it's going to also increase the prices of oil immediately, right? So I don't know what he's planning. If he actually ends up doing that, I hate that he's tariffing allies, right? So it depends. I would say specifically out of the stuff he's done, most of them. There's a lot of things he said he's going to do that I think will be good. Sorry, out of the things he's done so far, a lot of the majority of them I think I like, right? Because the things I disagree with, like I think officially making there be two genders, that doesn't actually affect that much, right? Most Americans just aren't affected by that whatsoever, right? It's mostly disagreements on stuff like that. I think it's sad about the oil thing, but like climate change was going to be an issue anyways. It's like we're not doing enough about that anyways, even under Joe Biden, in my opinion. So a lot of the good things he's doing, I do like a lot, right? But there are things that he's planning on doing that apparently he said February 1st that he would hit those tariffs. Those are terrible ideas. So just depends, bro. It depends on what he said he's going to do. I really don't like. A lot of the stuff he has done, I really do like. So we'll see. Maybe he doesn't do the tariffs, and maybe he gives up that idea. I don't know, right? I don't know what to believe of what he's going to do or don't do.
Yeah, here's what's interesting. So let me ask you this. When you say that you like what he's done so far, is it more, yeah, I kind of expected these things and now he's doing them, so I'm good with that? Or is it, okay, right? Like I was expecting some of this stuff, but you know what? I'm going to give respect where it's due. I didn't know he was going to pull this off.
I'm going to give respect where it's due. I think that's incredible that he actually stopped that before he got into office. Wow. I was wrong about that. I'm pretty sure I was on this podcast being like, yeah, get the fuck out of here, right? I'm pretty sure I said that, right?
Yeah.
I was wrong, right? I was wrong about that. That was very impressive. Everything else I expected, right? Everything else was the stuff I expected that I actually liked, that I think he was going to be better. I think you remember me talking about how like I like his foreign policy more than Biden's. Biden is a little, he's too milquetoast, dude. Like you do need like Trump's a bully, bro. He's a bully, dude. He's the bully on the schoolyard. That's what you need when you're dealing with Putin, right? You need somebody who's a fucking bully. Now, when it comes to immigration, I like what he did with the border, but I'm worried what he's going to do with deportation. I think it is possible to. You and I disagree. I think it is possible to vet people and keep the good people and get rid of the bad people. I think most conservatives are just like, you all broke the law, so get out. Just like Luis said earlier in the comments. I think that's how most conservatives feel, right? So I don't like that, right? Out of his immediate actions, though, the things he's done immediately, I like. It's like, is he going to actually go crazy with deportations? Is he actually going to do these tariffs? There are things he said he's going to do that I think will be terrible for a lot of human beings. But as of right now, he hasn't done those things. So technically, I can only say from as of 2 days, out of the things he's actually done, most of them are very positive, right? But he's about to do a bunch of shit, theoretically, that I incredibly disagree with. So that's how I feel.
But I appreciate that. Like, big respect to you, bro. You've always done a good job at this. I mean, obviously, there's some parts where I disagree with you, and I wish you were a little more open-minded, but you've always been fair on this. So that's a huge thing for you to say, because I think there's going to be a lot of people who just would not have the backbone to say that. So big respect for you giving credit where it's due.
I'm cool with being wrong. I'll sometimes be wrong, man. I'm a human, but you know.
Yeah. No, big respect. I think that's part of why we can talk about this stuff, right? Like, we're going to disagree. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to make fun of each other. But at the end of the day, I think this is really what it comes down to, because you gain nothing by emotionally being charged against someone who is helping you, right? And if it's true that Trump succeeds at his claims and brings the economy to a better place and helps bring food costs down, and he does the things that he's claiming, I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Cap or if you're freaking, like, I don't care who you are. He helped you. He made your life better because he was there. And if you're not willing to give credit for that, then you're just being emotional. You're being a little bit immature. So for me, that's cool. And I love that you're able to have those conversations. Here's my question to you, bro. Like, I think we agree on this largely. Largely, we agree on the immigration thing. I'm not looking forward to seeing good people get deported. I'm not here for that. I would love that that's not something we have to do. But here's my question.
Ripping up of families, if he actually does that.
Yeah, that's a lot, man. Like, I don't care who you are. And I'm going to say this respectfully. I love anybody that's on that podcast who takes this stance. Love y'all, right? Just like I love Cap, even though I think he a dummy sometimes. If you sit there in your high horse and you're comfortable at home, glad that families are being ripped apart and put into horribly dangerous situations because, well, they broke the law, I think you got to do some soul searching, right? That's just my opinion. I think that is just not a humane thing. Where someone was born does not increase or decrease the amount of humanity and safety that they deserve. Just period, right? And I think it's just really, really arrogant for us to act like, well, you shouldn't be here anyways. That's just naive, right? There's going to be now. Unfortunately, there's some bad people here who are mixed in with this, and I think this is where the conflict comes into play. That's just my opinion. Respectfully, y'all have the right to disagree with me. But that being said, like honestly, like what if you're wrong about the tariffs, right? You're strong that the tariffs won't work. What are you going to do if the tariffs actually help, bro? I don't know enough about economics to be able to say that tariffs will or won't work. I don't. I think that if he's deploying them, it's probably to an end that they will work. What if you're wrong on that?
I'm not wrong. This one I'm 100% sure I'm right. You want to know why I'm 100% sure I'm right? I'll tell you why. This is like I'm not wrong. Here's why. What is the point of a tariff? Like, I can answer this if you don't know. Like, actually, like, what is the entire point?
You take me to school.
The entire point of a tariff, literally the entire point, is to make it where, okay, let me explain. Let me give I'm going to do this through an example, actually. I'm not going to say this in a sentence because it won't make sense in a sentence. Okay. We got the issue in essence is Mexico's got $7 avocados, right?
Avocados from Mexico.
Yeah, just like follow me, right? Mexico's got $7 avocados. For a California farmer to produce it, it's $12. Let's just say that's the cost. Okay. What a tariff does, the whole point of a tariff is what we're doing is, sorry, Mexico, your avocados need to cost more than or as much as the American ones, right? That's literally the whole point of a tariff is I'm trying to make Mexican goods more expensive so American ones are competitive. That's the entire point of a tariff. So literally what you're doing is we had cheaper avocados from Mexico, and now we are increasing the price of the Mexican ones so the American ones are competitive. What this does is it makes it where now all avocados cost more, because what you're trying to do is make it where the American producer is able to compete by making it cost more. But what you are doing with a tariff is making things cost more. That is literally the mechanism you're using, right? So,
but I have one issue with that. I do, but here's my one issue with that.
Okay.
If you're literally looking at the fundamental purpose of a tariff, I hear you. Here's the thing. You're missing one valuable use of a tariff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thing that this guy in office right now is heavily known for. You know what it is?
Tell me.
Negotiation. Tariff.
Okay, so
threats of tariffs
are
it's a fantastic negotiation tool. And even if you have to deploy it for 30 days or 90 days, it's a fantastic negotiation deal.
I'm not necessarily against tariffs, right? I'm just saying that is literally what it does. So if our goal is to negotiate something at the expense of American people, that's I'm seriously, I'm not trying to be like, I don't know what the right word is. I'm not trying to like mince words here. I'm just saying that like, okay, just understand the sacrifices is you are literally increasing prices. Fine. Yeah. It's a threat, but just realize that's what you're threatening at the very least.
No. I hear that, right? But this is the nature of negotiation. And this is, if you go back to that podcast where I compared Trump versus Obama versus a closer versus a salesperson, right? Like Obama's a great communicator. He's not a closer. Trump's a closer. Here's the thing about closers, right? I teach this in my communication course every single day. You know the hardest part about being a closer, Jonah? One of the hardest parts, why people struggle so much with doing it?
Sure, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, but I don't know which one you're specifically going to say.
Because they're scared to have the hard conversation. They're scared to draw the line in the sand. They're scared to walk away. Trump's not.
Sure.
So if Trump walks in there, this is why he out-negotiates so many people. Because these people are politicians, not closers. They're politicians, not negotiators. He's a fantastic negotiator. So the threat of a tariff, even if he has to deploy that tariff. So let's use your example about avocados. And avocados get crazy expensive for 90 days. Okay. But if that is the cost, of the huge ramifications that come of them renegotiating, because yes, it does cause our avocados to go up, but you know what else it impacts? It impacts their GDP, which they're not going to want to deal with for too long. So even if they have to, like, even if they deal with it and we have to go for 90 days, 6 months, and avocados are just high for a little while, but then the side effect of that is a drastically increased trade relationship, and it has a bigger ripple effect, then is it worth it temporarily? And I would argue that the answer to that is absolutely yes. We went and bought groceries today, right? Do you want to guess how much our groceries were? Just basic groceries for us to eat, because I have to be very specific about what I eat. I can't eat everything. I have a very small list of what I can eat, because if not, I'll be worthless. I'll be crazy sick or in the hospital, right? You know what our bill was today? Just guess. Sprouts order.
200, 300,
$500.
Okay.
I'm like, bro, we got like 6 bags. Why is it $500? Eggs? You know what the situation with eggs? No eggs. I can send you the picture. Their eggs were non-existent. Whole store empty with eggs. She had to find little 6-packs of eggs in the corner for us to be able to get eggs. That is the consequence of what we've been doing for the last 4 years. We already know the consequences of our current actions. So if we have to deal with a temporary consequence of avocados going up a couple dollars more than they already are, but that leads to this not being a problem, that's a net win. That's a net positive. And it's a net positive that people who aren't closers are always scared to do. Now, if we use this in a sales situation, this is why if you have acquisitions people that are scared to push and walk away from a deal, and you have ones that will, here's the thing, what you're going to realize. The people who are not afraid to be aggressive at the close where it's necessary will maybe lose 1 or 2 deals here and there, but net positive year over year, they're making way more money. The people who are afraid to do that, who want to make everybody feel good, they may lose less deals, but year over year, they're netting way less. It will hurt your business more. It's a universal principle of negotiation. Trump is a master at this. So for me, I think that the great majority of these, this is all negotiation, bro.
Okay, so if you say so, man, I don't know. I don't think it's negotiation, because at least this is, and maybe he has a secret plan, but how I've heard him talk about tariffs is more like, hey, Mexico, we are buying way more shit from you than you are from us. So fuck you. We're going to put a tariff on you and you just have to suck it, right? That's not a negotiation for something better. That's just being like, that's just not understanding how trade works, right?
No, literally, he has you believing that he's serious. He wants you to believe he's serious. Otherwise, there's no value in the negotiation if they don't believe it.
Okay, he's lying. I get it. Whatever. I don't know when Trump's lying. Maybe you're better than me at that or whatever. My point is that I'm just going to tell people, this is all I'm going to tell people, right? Hold on. I want to bring up wait, bro, give me a second. I want to bring up Richard's comment. That's fine. Just realize your food's going to go up in price. I'm not saying necessarily tariffs are bad. There are times and places for them, but just realize if the problem you're trying to solve is reducing prices, tariffs do literally the exact opposite. If your plan with a tariff is strategic, what you're saying is right, Keanu. I totally agree. If that's actually what he's doing, he's just lying and he's just trying to get us to think that he's being serious. And really what he's doing is a whole ploy in order to negotiate a better trade deal and then he'll immediately get rid of the tariffs. Okay, then I totally agree with him. And that would be an amazing thing. That would be a smart thing to do, right? With China, he just kept the tariffs forever. China, I think we should tariff for a lot of different reasons because they do a lot of unfair trade practices and also they're a terrible, horrible government that does disgusting humanitarian things, right? It depends who's right. In my opinion, it seems the way he talks about it is that the tariff itself will solve the economy, right? If he understands he's hurting the economy in order to get something better, then I would concede and be like, that's a really smart thing to do. I've never seen him talk like that. how I've always seen him talk like it is like, hey, you're taking advantage of us. I'm just going to put this on here and leave it forever, basically, right? That's how I've seen it. So I don't know, man. If you're right and that he's doing it for that, then that would actually be smart. But I just doubt it. Like, based on the way he talks, I just doubt it.
I don't know, right? Like, you're speculating, I'm speculating. Actually, I'm speculating more than you because I'm actually the one that's speculating.
Yeah, I'm going off what he's saying he wants to do.
Yeah, no, and I get that. So I'm speculating on this. And to be honest with you, I could be wrong. But one thing that we're not speculating about is Trump has done time and time again. He never reveals his plan. Right? So if this is his plan, he would never tell anybody because he's a good negotiator. You got to give him credit for that, right?
If that's his plan and he's doing it secretly, hey, I give credit where credit's due. It's just, I just think what I'm saying, but like, I'm just, at least with Republicans, I'm just
this
saying,
right here, we need to do this, right? We should do a podcast.
Here's my problem. I'm sorry. Here's my fucking problem. You want Americans growing food? Fine, but expect your food to be way more fucking expensive.
No.
It's gonna drive me crazy that Republicans don't understand that.
I'm not a Republican, first of all. Second of all,
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about NLT Reggie right here. I don't know if he's Republican.
I'm going to tell you how I read this.
Okay.
We are growing our own food right here in the house. That, for me, is what I'm excited about. I think people should really, and I know this is not realistic.
Oh, you meant like literally, like every American grows their own food.
I actually would be okay with doing a whole podcast on this topic because I've done it recently for health purposes. It's freaking insane to me how much shit is in our food, just as a general rule. Even the healthy shit's full of shit, right? The amount of gums that are in there and the shit that's actually gums isn't even gum. It's just some weird modified variation of corn. It's a lot of stuff. I think this could be a cool podcast topic one day. But yeah, doing that. But I think Cap has a good suggestion here. What do you think, bro? Let's make some predictions.
We want to make predictions, like about the economy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Here's what I think is going to happen. Here's what I think is going to happen with the economy and stuff like that. Okay. I think there are going to be some tariffs that Trump puts on. I think that's going to be really bad for a lot of poor people. But in the end, what's going to happen is he's going to do tax cuts. He's going to spend a fuck ton of money, right? These things are like taking heroin, right? You feel great in the moment. You're riding high, right? It's like taking drugs. It's like, of course the economy is going to do well when you cut taxes and spend money, right? It's going to start booming because you're flooding money into the economy, right? The issue with that is eventually there will be a reckoning, right? You eventually get a hangover. So what I think is going to happen, I actually think the next 4 years are going to be really good economically. But it's going to be at a cost. It's going to be like doing heroin. What you're doing is I think he's going to be cutting spending. I think he's going to be increasing spending. He's going to be cutting taxes, and all of these things in the moment create an amazing economy, right? But eventually this becomes an issue as the debt soars. And I'm not saying Republicans and Democrats are, by the way, both are guilty of this. The debt will soar, which is something that we have to deal with eventually. I don't think Trump has any plans of dealing with that. I think that these things will come to bite us. I think the next 4 years actually will be really good economically, except for poor people, because they always get fucked. And then I think there will be a reckoning probably around the end of his presidency. Probably like either the end of his presidency or the beginning of the next one, there's going to be a big economic crisis. That's my prediction, economic-wise.
Yeah, here's my issue with that prediction, bro. And I don't know that this is your intent, but it just sounds like a great way to scapegoat, not give any credit to Trump, and basically say, yeah, you did all kinds of great shit, but it's going to mess up, and it's going to mess up in somebody else's presidency, and we're just going to blame you for it, right? I could just think I'm not saying that's your intent, but that's kind of like, that's the setup there. So I don't love that. I hear you. And I'll try to make some hard predictions, right? Here's a couple things that I don't think you're factoring. 1, the External Revenue Service. 2, the Department of Government Efficiency. I got you, Cap. I got you, Pumpkin. The Department of Government Efficiency. Those 2 are wild cards. They may do nothing. They may be empty monikers that actually accomplish nothing. Or they may change everything, right? Both are possible. Here's what we do know from a government standpoint. Anybody who knows anything about our government knows for a fact that spending is erroneously disgusting. People are spending $100,000 on hammers, right? $700 on nails, right? On these items. We're grossly wasting money. And we can talk all day long about inflation and rate cuts and how our responsibility as consumers impacts that. But what's rarely discussed is how inappropriate spending is the real culprit in these situations. And I think it's safe to say that poor spending is probably the lion's share of our problem. So one thing that we may factor in here is that we have this huge deficit. We have this huge debt that we have. It's very possible that simply by being more efficient with how we spend our money, we may be able to knock down a decent portion of that debt, right? Like, I think these things are extremely possible. Kat, shut up. I think these things are extremely possible. But I don't know. So I'm not going to make a prediction on that because I genuinely don't know. Here's what I think. I think Trump's going to surprise a lot of people. A lot of people. I think there is going to be a lot more people who end up sounding like you, but for more than just a couple days. And I think that there's going to be more people than that who will think it but never admit out loud that Trump's going to do a fantastic fucking job. I genuinely think that. Now, do I think we're going to live in a golden era? I don't know. I think that the net outcome will be a golden era. But is it possible that we have a season of difficulty in the economy from the transition from where we're coming from? I think it's possible. I think it's very possible, right? Because there's still a lot out there that we have to account for. Let's say a tariff has to happen for temporary to be able to do these negotiations, right? There are a number of things, and all of the stuff that's been mounting up upon us, there could be 6 to 12 months, maybe more, where shit gets really tough until, right? I think if we don't have a downturn for at least 6 months where things get really rocky, I think if we don't have that, then Trump pulled off a freaking miracle. I do. I think that he pulled off a miracle, or he kicked it down. Let's give you some credit. Maybe he kicked the can down the road. But whether or not we have a temporary shutdown or not, I think he's going to do some really, really impressive things. I think he's going to revamp a lot. Trump is nothing if not overwhelmingly competitive in wanting to prove his point. I don't care if you love him or hate him. I don't care what your opinion on him is. He's just that guy. He has something to prove right now. And I think he's going to prove it. And here's another big difference. Department of Government Efficiency, External Revenue Service. And here's another one that I think is really big, Jonah. He's got a lot of CEOs on his side that he did not have before. Did you see who was at this inauguration? CEO of...
We had like everybody. Yeah, he had like Facebook.
Everybody was there. These people were his enemy last time. They're his friend now. What does that mean? Right? I think the next 4 years has the potential of being very interesting. I don't know what golden era looks like. I think he is positioned right now to genuinely create one more than we've ever seen. And so if there's been a scenario in my adult lifetime where at the end of a presidency, we could say, holy crap, I am so proud to see what this country has become. We've never had that. I think that this is the one time we have that hope. Will it happen? No clue. Absolutely no clue. But I think it's possible.
We shall see.
We shall see. I'm sorry if my prediction wasn't hard enough for you. I know you like it hard, Cap.
Okay. And with that, do you wanna wrap this up? I think we've done a good job.
I think we covered it. Guys, in the chat, what do you think? Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? Is it going to stay the same? I think good things lie ahead. One thing I'm most excited about, maybe we can do a podcast about this. If RFK gets put in and starts doing some health stuff, that really excites me. That really excites me when it comes to the vaccine talk, when it comes to health, peptides, right? Stem cells, really, really stuff. Reggie says it'll get better. Positive vibes. Shauna says it's going to get better. I'm thinking we're going for better. Jonah's hopeful but unsure, I think. Is that a fair summary?
No. I said it. I think it's going to get better, but I think the way he's going to do it is just
okay.
I'm just saying, it's okay.
What
What
if
I
the
think he's
aliens
gonna do-
come in 4 years and it doesn't matter what happens afterwards?
What I think is going to happen is I think he's going to go for short-term prosperity over our long-term prosperity. That's what I think is going to happen. Personally, I think he's going to just cut taxes a fuck ton and spend a fuck ton of money. That's what I predict. And when you do that, initially it gets better. Just like if you're depressed and you take a bunch of fucking heroin, you feel good for a second. But
Have
eventually,
you tried heroin before? Jonah, are you speaking from personal experience?
not that
Man? You want to talk about it?
No, I haven't done any. No needle drugs. No needle drugs for me.
Okay. We need to do a podcast to talk about what drugs you've taken.
We can. I've taken all of them. That didn't require a needle, basically.
You can do crack without a needle. You know that, right?
Okay, maybe not crack. I've snorted cocaine.
Have you really? Like before this podcast?
I was in a frat, dude. You kidding me, bro? Come
Oh,
on.
shit. Bro, this is heavy white guy energy, bro. I'm gonna start calling you Chad.
Don't do that.
All right, guys. Profit and Paradox, episode 30-something. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. I think we have an interesting road ahead of us. I think it's going to be good. I hope it's good. I think we all hope that it's going to be good. Appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out with us. If you have not subscribed to the Profit and Paradox channel, go subscribe to the Profit and Paradox channel, because that's where we're going to start posting all kinds of cool stuff, all the shorts and all the things from here. Always, guys, we are open to hearing what you want us to talk about, right? Whether it's conspiracy theories, health stuff, political stuff, how to grow sexy back hair. You guys tell us what you want to hear. We will see if we want to talk about it. No, Jonah? No?
Keep back there. All right, bro.
Back there, bro. Why not? That being said, guys, Profit and Paradox, love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Have a good week. Do something special. See y'all next time. Peace.
Peace out.